Romano, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Detective, would you please introduce yourself to the jury?
My name is John Thompson. I am a detective with the Tempe Police Department.
And Detective Thompson, how long have you been employed by the Tempe Police Department?
I've been employed with the Tempe Police Department over 14 years.
What is your current position there?
I'm currently a homicide detective assigned to the Criminal Investigations Bureau.
All right, tell us a little bit about your education prior to becoming a police officer.
I did an undergraduate degree at the University of Arizona. I double majored in criminal justice administration and public management. I've got a master's degree in public administration from Arizona State University. I also have a graduate certificate in forensic death investigation from the University of Florida.
And when you became a police officer, you had to go through the normal channels of being a patrol officer first and then working your way up to detective, correct?
That is correct.
All right. When did you first become a detective? I'm sorry if you already answered that.
I became a detective in the year 2000.
And was your position always in the homicide unit?
No, it was not. I originally started in the night squad. The group of detectives that were tasked with being first responding investigators to incidents that occur in the city of Tempe between generally 4 p.m. and 2 a.m.
And when did you become a member of the homicide unit?
It was approximately 9 or 10 months later that I became a member of the aggravated assault detail and sort of persons crimes, and then from there, a few months later, I became a part of the homicide unit.
And I'm going to draw your attention to December of 2009. At that time, were you in the homicide unit?
Yes, I was.
And did you become involved in an investigation involving a missing child by the name of Gabriel Johnson?
Yes, I did.
All right. Now, do you have any specialized training regarding missing children or investigations of that nature?
I do. I have attended several trainings that deal with the investigation of missing adults and missing children, child fatality incidents, several trainings and seminars along those lines produced by various organizations, including the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
And I'm going to direct your attention specifically to the date of December 28th, 2009. Is that the date that you first became involved in this investigation?
Yes, it is.
Right. And on that date, what did you do, or what was your involvement on that date?
That first date, I was primarily involved with learning about the case and at that point assisting other detectives with tasks that they had that they needed help with.
All right. And did you learn some basic information about what was known in the investigation of that at that time?
Yes, I did.
And what did you know at that time?
At that time, what was known is that you had a woman named Elizabeth Johnson. She and a male by the name of Logan McQueary had a child together some months earlier, approximately 7 to 8 months earlier. The child's name was Gabriel. They had this child out of wedlock. However, during the time since Gabriel had been born...
Objection under calls for narrative.
It's general background overruled.
During the time that, after the time that Gabriel had been born, the two of them were having relationship problems. And there was a determination made, at least by Elizabeth, that she wanted to place Gabriel up for adoption. There was information that Logan McQueary did not want Gabriel to be adopted out, that he wanted to maintain his parental rights and his rights as a father and be a father to Gabriel. There was a family, a couple, that had been identified that Elizabeth had chosen as wanting to adopt Gabriel to, Tammi and Jack Smith, and that during the month of December, there had been some court proceedings in family court. During that time, Elizabeth had missed one of her court appearances, or rather, just to clarify, I guess she had missed either a scheduled appearance or a scheduled transfer of custody of Gabriel or something like that. And there was information that she had fled the area, possibly out of state. There's also information that during the time that Elizabeth and Gabriel could not be accounted for, that she had sent some very distressing text messages and had some phone calls with Logan McQueary, basically indicating that she had killed Gabriel.
And those messages had come the day previous, correct, on December 27th?
That's correct.
All right. Now, was it known what, at that time, was it known what the total involvement of the Smiths was?
No, it was not.
Okay. Was this something that was unfolding as the investigation went on?
Yes, it was.
All right. And your initial participation in the investigation, was that to assist in attempting to locate Elizabeth Johnson and the child Gabriel?
That is correct.
What did you do to assist in the investigation in that regard that day?
There was information that had been gathered by Detective Larson in reference to some MySpace transmissions, and there was information that we were doing at this time to try to locate Elizabeth Johnson. And mainly what we were trying to do is we were trying to look at her usage via cell phone or by computer, if she were to log into anywhere, to see if that could give us a location as to where she may be, in hopes of us then locating Gabriel and determining that he was okay.
And at that time, was there information that her phone had last been used in southern Texas?
Yes, there was.
All right. And what did you do in response to that information?
At that time, I prepared a bulletin, and I sent this bulletin out to law enforcement agencies in the Texas area. We have a way of communicating with law enforcement agencies through a secure teletype system. However, the teletype system doesn't allow us to send photographs. Obviously, in a case like this, it's of value to have images of the child, the mother, and the vehicle, as well as everything else, so that law enforcement officers can look at that as they're driving down the road. So I prepared a bulletin, and I sent that to several law enforcement agencies in central and southern Texas.
And you focused on that area at that time because that was the last information you had. Is that a fair statement?
That is fair.
Okay. And now I'm going to draw your attention to the next day, December 29th, 2009. Did your involvement in the investigation shift at that point?
I guess my involvement or my status in the investigation remained the same at that time.
Okay. Were you asked to look into anything different at that time, or did you look into any different information on that date?
Let me refer to our court just to make sure chronologically. I did on the 29th. I did research information on Tammi and Jack Smith.
All right. And without telling us specifics of the information that you obtained, what sort of information were you looking for?
Just looking for anything to give me an idea as to the background of these people. I had never met them before. I know there were several other people in our department that had very brief contact with them, if any contact at all. And it was just an opportunity to try to find out more information, or at least something if there was further clarification that was needed.
Right. And you documented that information in your report?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And on that date, did you also observe a MySpace page allegedly belonging to Elizabeth Johnson, where there had been a change in her status and a change in her post?
Yes, I did.
All right. And did Detective Larson do follow-up on that?
Yes, he did.
All right. Now I'm going to draw your attention to the next date of December 30th, 2009. Did you meet with special agents from the FBI that day?
Yes, I did.
And what was the purpose of that meeting?
At this time, it was a chance for us to share information with them so that we can all be working on the same page and we all have the same information. There was a possibility that Gabriel and Elizabeth had gone out of state. As us being a municipal agency here in Arizona, it's difficult for us to conduct follow-up out of state, and so the FBI was willing to lend their expertise and assistance in helping us with the investigation, as well as providing out-of-state follow-up with agents in any various different state that we may need.
Okay. And did you also follow up on Elizabeth Johnson's Yahoo email account on that date?
Yes, I did.
And how did you follow up on that?
I sent an emergency request to Yahoo asking them to provide me with the IP address information, the Internet Protocol address information for any logins that Elizabeth Johnson had done on her Yahoo email account.
And did you receive information back regarding that?
Yes, I did.
And did you receive information that indicated, in fact, on December 21st and 24th that she was in the state of Texas?
That is correct.
At least according to the Internet Protocol that was given?
Yes.
Now, after you received that information, did you receive additional information as to the possible whereabouts of Elizabeth Johnson?
Yes, we did.
And how did you receive that information?
That information came through other additional investigative efforts by other detectives. There was a additional inquiry as to Elizabeth Johnson's logging in to her MySpace account, and there was information that she was now logging in from the state of Florida.
And what happened at that point?
At that point, there was an address that was obtained from one of those IP addresses that was listed there. It was a youth hostel or a motel in the Fort Lauderdale, Miami Beach area. At that time, contact was made with authorities out there, and they were directed out to that hotel to check on Elizabeth. From my understanding, they waited in the area, and she came walking down the street. They identified her through photographs, and they were able to detain her and arrest her.
And while that was going on, were you able to obtain information regarding Elizabeth Johnson's MySpace account?
Yes, I was.
And how was that information obtained?
It was through Detective Larson. He had obtained this information through another emergency disclosure from MySpace, and then he had provided that information to me for review.
And when he provided you that information, did you review it at that time?
Yes, I did.
And you reviewed the messages that existed in her account at that time, at the time of the order?
That's correct.
And there were continuing orders that were requested. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, it is.
Regarding Elizabeth Johnson's MySpace account?
Yes.
All right. Now, and you reviewed the information at that point?
Yes, I did.
Since the time that you've reviewed the information given to you from the emergency order, have you obtained certification of those documents from MySpace?
Yes, I have.
And have they provided certified records of what existed at that time on her account?
Yes, they did.
Throughout the investigation at that point, did you also obtain information regarding Tammi Smith's MySpace account?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and how was that information originally received?
That was originally received by Detective Larson also through an emergency disclosure request through MySpace. And he provided that information to me, similarly to the information that he provided to me from Elizabeth Johnson.
And were you able to review the documents that received pursuant to the emergency order back at that time?
Yes, I was.
And since then, have you received certification from MySpace regarding those documents?
Yes, I have.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
I'm showing you what's marked as Exhibit 197.001. Detective, do you recognize those documents?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And do those documents certify the records of Elizabeth Johnson and Tammi Smith with regard to MySpace?
Yes, it does.
Specifically, is Elizabeth Johnson's profile number 915-24048?
Yes, it is.
And is Tammi Smith's profile number 138896839?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, at this time I would move to enter Exhibit 197.001.
Any objection?
No, Judge. Thank you.
Exhibit 197.001 is admitted.
May I have continuing permission to approach the witness?
You have it.
Detective, I'm showing you what's marked as exhibits 202 and 203. If you could please take a look at those and let us know if you can identify what those documents are.
Exhibit number 202 is a collection of emails, or at least discussion threads, that were printed from Tammi Smith's MySpace account. And exhibit number 203 is a collection of emails or discussion threads that were printed from Elizabeth Johnson's MySpace account.
Okay. And just so we're clear, when MySpace sent the information to you, was it on disk? When they sent the certified records?
That's correct.
Was that on disk?
Yes, most of those items were on disk. There were some items that were sent via email.
Okay. And the information that is contained within exhibits 202 and 203, are those selected portions of the entirety of the MySpace records?
That's correct. They're selected portions.
Okay, because there was a lot of information that was received. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and a lot of information that had nothing to do with this case?
That's correct.
All right, so when you went through the CDs that were received from MySpace, did you identify the communications and postings that were relevant to this case?
Yes, I did.
And those are contained in those two folders. Is that a fair statement?
It is.
May I approval? Now we're going to go through these a little one by one.
Before we publish, they're not in evidence, correct?
I thought we moved them in, but maybe I missed.
Yes, I might be.
202 and 203. I think we may have before. I just want to make sure before you
I
publish.
object.
Then you can publish regardless.
They haven't been moved in? All right. Your Honor, I would move for the entry of exhibits 202 and 203 at this time.
Any objection?
No, Judge.
Exhibits 202 and 203 are admitted.
Thank you. Now, the first page in this folder is just a sheet indicating what is contained in the folder. Is that correct?
That's correct.
The next page, what does this page indicate?
This is what gives us the information from MySpace as to who the subscriber is. It lists the subscriber number as well as the information that was provided to MySpace when the person signed up for their account. So in this regard, we've got user number 915-24048, who had identified herself as Elizabeth Johnson, living in the United States, Arizona, with an email address of Elizabeth.
And does it give some additional information about what IP address was used when she initially signed up?
That's correct, as well as the date that she signed up for her MySpace account.
And this indicates July 8th of 2006 at 6 a.m.?
That's correct.
Now, the first message within this folder is this a, if you can briefly explain for the jury, MySpace a MySpace account has a page, correct, that you initially go on,
Yes.
where people can post different comments or statements and pictures of themselves. Is that a
That's
fair
correct.
statement? Okay. Is this something that appears on the public page, or is this in the inbox area of the MySpace account?
This would be something that would be on a inbox area of MySpace. This wouldn't be on the displayed on the public pages that anyone could see.
Okay, so there is a mechanism on MySpace where a person can send a private message, like an email, to the user of that account.
Yes,
Okay, and is this where this message is found?
that's correct.
All right, and the date of this message is?
It's going to be December 11th, 2009.
Okay, and just so the jury understands, and so the record is clear, there's a number of things contained within this message, including something that states original message up on the upper right there.
That's correct.
Okay, what does that indicate?
There was a message that was sent to Elizabeth. And then since that period of time, there had been a response from Elizabeth's MySpace account back to the original sender of this message. But it shows that original message in that same posting.
Okay. So would this portion of the message be the original message?
Yes, it appears so.
Okay, and that is dated April 4th of 2009?
That's correct.
Sorry. All right. And then this portion here, would this be the current message?
Yes, it is.
And what does that state?
It says, "Hey girl, call me. My new number is," and then. Do you want me to read the phone number?
No. Right. And that is the message that is posted as of 12/11/2009 at 9:40 a.m.?
That's correct.
And that indicates that it's from Elizabeth Johnson's user number to the other person's user number.
That's correct.
Now the next message indicates a date of 12/15/2009 at 1:03 p.m. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. And this is to user number 915-24048, which is Elizabeth Johnson,
That's correct.
from user number 29243828. Do you know who that user number belongs to?
Yes, that's a user number that is associated with Logan McQueary.
All right. Now, this message or this thread of messages actually starts at the bottom, correct? Like the previous
That's correct.
message. All right. So the original message that was sent is down here at December 13th, 2009?
That's correct.
All right. And then there's a response on December 15th, 2009
Yes.
from Elizabeth. And then this section up here, the response is from Logan McQueary on 2/15/2009. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. If you can start from the bottom first message and work your way up to the current message and read that, please.
Okay. The original message, it is listed from Logan to Elizabeth on December 13th, 2009 at 11:39 p.m. It reads, "I am sorry the way things are, but I think it's for the best. We tried and tried to make things work. Maybe it was me, maybe it was you. It was actually some of both. You will never know how much I really do love you, babe. This hurts me a lot. All I wanted to do when I saw you last was to hug and kiss you, but I knew I couldn't. This is hard for the both of us. Wish I could call and talk to you. I am feeling a lot of different feelings, but we can't. We need to spend some time not talking. You need to be strong, babe. I know you are a very strong person, and I know it might be hard at first, but we both need to be apart. We tried, but all we did was drag each other down. You can get your life back like you have always said you wanted, and relax and have some peace. I really don't want other people raising Gabe. I really want to try and take care of him by myself. I don't want to be with anyone else. I just want to work and take care of him. I love you so much, but at the same time, I was afraid of you, and we couldn't keep living like that."
If you could read the response to that message.
This is from Elizabeth, dated December 15th, 2009 at 8:31 p.m. I understand completely. I just want the best for Gabe. That's all I want. He doesn't deserve to be in the middle of a custody battle. I am upset with you. You said all those horrible things about me. You called CPS and told them I neglected him. That was wrong, Logan. I would never tell horrible lies about you. You know I love and adore Gabriel and would never hurt him. He is my angle. I'm assuming that's to be angel. You left me no choice but to consider adoption. I need to look for a job. If you aren't there to watch him, I have to find help somewhere else. We had talked about it many times, and I thought even though it was tough, you agreed it would be best, is we could not provide for Gabriel to give him up for adoption. Gabriel is what I want, but it's not about what I want. I want the best for him. He deserves a real family that is stable and emotional healthy. I will drop back child support charges on you and current ones, and the family is willing to keep it an open adoption and let us visit and see Gabe. They want to help us both financially to get on our feet and get our lives together. I told them I am fine and just need them to pay my legal fees and to give you all the money so that you can get their own place. They want to talk to you, but I have no number for you. They are good people. You should at least talk to them. You don't have to talk to me at all. We have been in a very unhealthy relationship and have hurt each other and been codependent on each other to make us happy, and it's unhealthy. I never realized how unhealthy our relationship was until I took those classes on Sunday I'm taking. Yes, we need to do our own way and go our separate ways. I still love you too, even though you said those horrible things about me and filed false charges on me. I have done the best for Gabriel. I always have and always will, even if that means giving him up. I forgive you. I just want this over and go on with my life, and I don't wish you anything bad. I hope you get your life together as well and do good. I'm sorry.
And what is the response from Logan to that message?
That's on December 15th, 2009 at 1:03 p.m. And it reads, please don't fight me on this. Let me take care of Gabriel. I can try and give him a good life. And you even said you can't take care of him right now. I want to see him so bad. Don't do this because you are mad at me. I can take care of him.
Now the next
Before we get into another document, looks like we're right at about noon, so we probably ought to stop there. So we're going to take our lunch break, ladies and gentlemen, and we will come back at 1:30. Until then, remember the admonition, and we'll see you at 1:30. We're outside the presence of the jury. Ms. Smith's here, counsel's here. I think you wanted to talk to me before we started?
Yes, Your Honor. Just real quick. The lunch hour was not long enough for Detective Thompson or the prosecution to prepare for the free talk. I've talked to Mr. Lee, and we believe the appropriate solution would be to finish Detective Thompson's testimony about everything else and then recall him to just talk only about that free talk interview. Okay. I'm not sure how we want to, or if we want to instruct the jury that we're doing something different, but that's what we thought we would do.
Okay. When he steps down, I can basically say subject to recall, and he may be recalled. Is that correct? Yes. And so they're not surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they know enough to care.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's just do it that way.
I agree. I don't think it'll bother him at all. And we'll just give him a little bit of a signal that the detective will be back, and then you can call him tomorrow or the next day and give you and the detective an opportunity to prepare, and we'll do it that way. Okay.
And just a couple of other little things. I'm sorry, were you done?
I am. Thank you.
Okay. Your Honor, just in the spirit of cooperation, we offered to stipulate to Detective McCluskey's testimony. Detective McCluskey basically authored the affidavits for the wiretaps and did some of the monitoring with the wiretaps. And basically, he'll provide an explanation of how a wiretap is set up and how it works. And we were willing to stipulate to that. The state's concern is how they get that information in, and I suggested that perhaps with your help, we can craft a sentence or two about what his testimony would be. And then the other concern Judge, is Detective Harris is scheduled for today, and Ms. Ramuno just handed me some documents that are, they're not new documents, I don't think, and I have no reason to doubt what she's telling me they are representative of being, which are, some more phone records, but I haven't, she just handed them to me. I haven't had a chance to look at them. I'm sure there's nothing wrong with them, but I'd like to look at them before he takes the stand. And also there is a map, apparently, that he created basically incorporating information from a couple of different places. Is that a fair way to? So the map itself does not contain brand new information, but the map itself does contain new information, but it is information that is gathered from other places. The phone records are basically incorporated into the GPS map is what this is. And again, this was just handed to me. I need time to look at it and figure out what I'm going to ask him on cross-examination, basically. So, Judge, I don't know how, we were discussing that, Your Honor, actually, as Your Honor was walking out. So I don't know how Your Honor wants to handle that. I'm going to need a little bit of time to look at this. And again, I have no reason to doubt that this is stuff that has already been disclosed, but it's packaged differently, Judge, so I need to look at it.
Okay, well, let's step back for a second. We're going to have Detective Thompson. He's going to, obviously, we're still on direct. Although he's not going to talk about the Elizabeth Johnson interview, there's going to be some more information from him. My notes had that then we would have, in fact, I had Detective Harris ahead of Detective Thompson. So was Harris going to be next?
Yes, Your Honor. We can always call Detective McCluskey before Detective Harris if it will allow more time. And just as a way of explanation, those are just the remaining certifications that we were waiting for regarding the text messages of the defendant. They came in over the weekend, and the detective just brought them in to me during the lunch hour.
Are they the certifications and the underlying documentation that goes with
They
them?
did attach the underlying documentation. That has previously been provided.
Okay, so you got certifications with is it MySpace?
No, these are Verizon records. There's text messages of the defendant between December 24th and January 3rd.
So presumably it's text messages that I think you've already seen?
Well, Judge, it's just like with the CDs, Judge, I have no reason to doubt that the state is telling me the truth about what these are, but I just had them handed to me. I need to look and make sure that they are what they are. And there's also a new disc here.
I guess my question is, sometimes when you get handed something, it's going to take you a little while to look at it because you're trying to digest what's in it. Sometimes you're looking at it just to confirm it is what you think it is, and you don't have to read every document. You just need to make sure, and I think we're talking about the latter.
Yes.
So I want to get a sense for how long you think it would take you to look at it, because obviously I want to give you an opportunity to look at it, to know it is what you believe it to be. So I'm fine with it. I just want to get a sense for how much time you need.
I appreciate it, Judge. And, I'd like maybe 20 minutes to look through this.
Okay.
But also there's the issue of this map, Judge. And if they are going to, I assume they want to admit this as evidence, I just have to cross-check documents to make sure that all the information on here is represented accurately.
Is it a map representing where Ms. Johnson allegedly was at certain times, which is derived from the underlying documents?
Yes.
And the call she made at those locations, so I want to double check the call.
I think we can get through that. I won't admit it until you have a chance to look at it, unless you think that there's going to be some kind of misrepresentation or you can't deal with it.
I just don't know, Judge.
Well, I'll give you a chance to look at it. All right, so let's talk about where that leaves us in terms of witnesses. Detective Thompson, if we call McCluskey next, then the thought of a stipulation goes away and Detective McCluskey testifies, lays the foundation presumably for wiretap info. You can go through it, and we have Detective McCluskey. Who would be next then, so we continue to use time while we're waiting for the Detective Harris situation to straighten out?
Actually, Your Honor, I misspoke. We do have an additional witness, Alicia Shumway, that we can call after Detective Thompson, and then Detective McCluskey, and then Detective Harris.
Okay. Let's see if you have enough time over the break, whenever we take our next break. If not, then we'll discuss what we're going to do. Okay. All All right, so we pick back up with Detective Thompson. Anything else we need to talk about from anybody's perspective before we start?
Your Honor, I just need to step out and tell Detective McCluskey we're moving him. He had another court he wanted to go to, and I just wanted to let him know.
Okay, do you want us to wait to bring the jury while you're doing that?
No, Your Honor, that's
Okay,
fine.
all right. Okay, so we can go ahead and get the jury then? Okay, please be seated, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Hope you had a good lunch. We left off with the direct examination of Detective Thompson, so we're going to continue with that. So, Ms. Romano, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. I will need to use this again.
Okay, let me see if I can pull it up for you. Kim is not there right now, but I think I can do it. We're about to test whether I can do it or not. Kim, we need to pull up the, I think I have it, but I'm not positive. It should come on. You may.
Detective, before the break, we were discussing Exhibit 203, which was Elizabeth Johnson's MySpace records. And I'm just going to direct your attention now to the next item that's within the folder. What is this?
This is basically a snapshot that was provided to us by MySpace that gives an indication of the emails that are listed in her inbox. It also gives a brief summary of the first couple of lines of each email. This isn't everything that was in her inbox in its entirety, but it just gives a representation as to some of the items that we saw as we were doing this examination.
Okay. So right here where it lists just 2 lines, that it's either that message is either that long or there could be more to that message.
That's correct.
Okay. And Detective, was this one of the other messages that was found within her records?
Yes, it was.
Okay, and could you please tell us the date of this and time of this message?
It's December 22nd, 2009 at 8:45.
And it's from?
It is from Elizabeth, and it is addressed to the MySpace account of Logan McQueary.
All right, and could you read what the text of that message is?
The header on that message states that it's a message from Elizabeth, and it states, "You don't care about me or us or our family. You only care about yourself. You treated me like your enemy instead of the woman you love and made your son. You were so quick to put yourself as single and take my pick down to start your new life and ditch me. So that's what I'm going." And then it stops there.
All right.
Word.
And that's all that was contained within
That's
that
correct.
message. All right. It does appear to cut off, but you didn't cut that off.
No, I did not.
Okay, and the next message? If you could tell us the date and time?
That is December 22nd, 2009 at 10:18 a.m.
And who is this to and from?
It is going to be from Tammi Smith, or the MySpace account associated with Tammi Smith, to the MySpace account associated with Elizabeth Johnson.
And could you please read the text of that message?
Elizabeth, please call us and let us know you and Gabriel are okay. We are all worried, as you can expect, and we have some very important information that you really, really need to hear before this weekend. It is very serious.
Okay.
Exclamation points.
And there are some words in there with brackets around it. Is that?
Yes.
Do you know what that is?
I believe that's going to be formatting. MySpace is a web-based format. It's meant to be viewed on a web page through the internet, and I think those are just formatting text marks that sort of tell it when to have a return, when to have a paragraph indent, different things like that.
All right. And you omitted that from the reading of this message.
That's correct.
And the next message?
It's dated December 22nd, 2009 at 8:25 in the morning.
And it's from and to?
It is from the MySpace account associated with Logan McQueary to the MySpace account associated with Elizabeth Johnson. And the header asks, "Call me, please."
Okay, and the text of the message?
It asks, "Please call me. Please call me. Want to know if you're okay."
And the next message within this folder is dated, can you please tell us the date and time?
It's December 29th, 2009 at 4:51 in the afternoon.
And who is this message to and who is it from?
This is going to be a message to Elizabeth's MySpace account from Tammi Smith's MySpace account.
And what is the header of this message?
It says, "Please tell me that Gabriel is fine.
And could you read the content of the message as well?
I believe in my heart that you would never hurt him, but the detectives have a recording of you telling Logan that you killed him, and you sounded very scared and distraught. We are also distraught. We love Gabriel and you are going to get yourself in a lot of trouble if you don't come forward very, very soon. As we told you all this time, if you do the right thing, everything will work out for the good. I really mean that. The lead detective on this case really feels for you, and he wants to help you. You can call Detective Aguilera at... He truly wants to help you. He is also a negotiator, and he said that what Logan and his dad did to you was very wrong and uncalled for. He said, so far, you aren't in any trouble because you are technically never served yet. But if you don't come forward soon, you could be in some serious trouble. Just call Detective Aguilera, please."
And the next message, could you please tell us the date and time?
It's December 29th, 2009 at 5:43 in the afternoon.
And who is this message between?
This is from Elizabeth Johnson's MySpace account to Tammi Smith's MySpace account.
And is this a response to the previous message?
Yes, it is.
All right, if you could please read the response to that message.
The response reads, "Tammi, I will never come forward. Yes, what I said was wrong, but I wanted him to hurt like he hurt me, so that's why I said all that. Me and Gabriel are fine. In fact, great. I just got a full-time job under a fake name, and the owner is very understanding of my situation and is willing to help me get new IDs and stuff. I cannot let you or anyone else know where I am. Just know I'm getting lots of help. I am very smart and resourceful, and that I am one of the most competent people you will ever meet. I have always taken care of myself by myself as long as I can remember. I can't call in fear of phone records. I am ever worried this email can be traced to where I am, so I probably won't email again. But I had to let you know we are all right, because I know you must be worried sick, and I am so sorry for that. Really, I am. You and Jack are such good people."
And the next message, what is the date and time of this message?
That message is December 30th, 2009 at 6:49 in the morning. And that is going to be from the MySpace account associated with Tammi Smith to the MySpace account associated with Elizabeth Johnson.
And is this a response to the previous message that was responding to the original message?
Yes, it is.
So down here is Tammi Smith, and then we have Elizabeth Johnson, and then Tammi Smith again responding?
Correct.
All right, and could you please read the text of the response?
The text reads, "Thank you so much for letting me know that you are both... Thank you so much for letting me know that you're both are okay. I miss that little angel. I knew that you could never hurt him. A mother has to really love her child enough to give him up to a good family in order to give him a more meaningfully life. Be safe." Tammi.
Sorry.
Tammi, yes.
Okay. And the next message, the date and time of that message?
It's December 30th, 2009 at 6:55 in the morning.
And who is this between?
This is from the MySpace account associated with Tammi Smith to the MySpace account associated with Elizabeth Johnson.
And it looks like the heading of the message goes into the actual message. So could you read that all together?
That's correct. It reads, "Can you please post a new picture of Gabriel so everyone knows he's safe? We believe you, but the police don't know you, and if they saw a new picture of him, it may help them to know he is okay."
And is that the last of the messages pertaining to this case in Elizabeth Johnson's MySpace account?
Yes, it is.
All right. Now, there was also a screen capture included in the records of Elizabeth Johnson. Do you recall that being part of the records?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And is this the screen capture that was included?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Now, can you just briefly explain what a screen capture is?
Basically, it's a way to capture the image on the screen. There may be some links and some ads and different things that may not be there, but it's a way to capture the items that were published by the person that owns this page.
All right. And is that on their actual page?
Yes, it is.
All right. And the way it's printed out here obviously is not the way it looks actually on the computer. Is that a fair statement?
That is fair.
All right. This is just with formatting how it came out?
That's correct.
Okay. And this page here indicates that the last login was on December 29th of 2009 at the bottom?
Yes, it does.
All right. And what is the status that is posted on this page?
With MySpace, at least at that time, you had an opportunity to write what you were feeling at the time, a little byline. The message on there reads, "Kiss my ass, suckas," SUCKAS, and then 2 exclamation points. After that, the mood is listed as adventurous.
All right. And is December 29th, 2009 the actual date of this screen capture?
That's my understanding, yes.
All right. And then, Detective, is this printout just a continuation of the screen capture?
Yes, it is.
All right. And it lists details about the user,
Yes, it
their
does.
friends, and any comments that they had on their page at that time?
That's correct.
Okay. This page as well?
Yes.
Okay. And this page as well?
That's correct.
Okay. And I believe this is the last page?
Yes.
Okay. And then this is this what would be at the bottom of the computer screen?
That's correct.
So this is not necessarily a part of Elizabeth Johnson's page, but just what's at the bottom of the screen at that
That's
time?
right.
Now, Detective, you reviewed those on December 30th of 2009?
Yes, I did.
All right. Were you also informed at that time that Elizabeth was arrested in Miami Beach?
Yes, I was.
Now, in response to her arrest, or as part of the continuing investigation, did you speak to staff at the Quality Inn Fiesta Park in Texas?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And did you obtain information from them?
Yes, I did.
And that's documented in your report?
That's correct.
And on December 31st, 2009, did you update the flyer that you had previously created?
Yes.
And how did you update that?
Primarily, the flyer was now updated to reveal that Elizabeth Johnson had been contacted. She had been arrested, yet she was not in the care, or Gabriel, rather, was not in her care at this time. She was contacted in Florida, and Gabriel still cannot be found. And so the information was updated to focus on searching for the vehicle as well as searching for Gabriel.
Now, on that date as well, did you receive information that located on Elizabeth Johnson's GPS device or the Magellan Roadmate that there was information regarding Tennessee?
That is correct.
Okay, and did you do follow-up information regarding that?
Yes, I did.
What did you do?
There was information passed along to me by authorities in Florida that there was an address on there for Nashville, Tennessee. The address specifically was for 685. And so I did research on that using open source information through the Nashville Registrar's website, and it determined that there did not appear to be an exact address of 685 Green Park. Several houses that were within that area. It almost landed in the middle of a cul-de-sac. So what I did is I gathered the addresses, gathered the information from all of those houses. I forwarded that on to the FBI field office in Nashville so that they could conduct follow-up information there.
Now I'm going to draw your attention to the date of January 4th, 2010. At that time, were you asked actually to become the co-case agent on this matter?
Yes, I was.
And what was the reason for that?
At this point, there was information. Basically, there are two reasons. One reason was that there was information that this may possibly transition into an actual homicide investigation. At this point, we're working a missing person, but there is a possibility that we may find Gabriel deceased. The second half of that is due to the fact that Elizabeth had now been contacted in Florida. There was a distinct possibility that the case agent up to this point, Detective Ramirez, was going to be flying back to Florida to conduct follow-up out there in person. So in order to have a point of contact within Arizona that is sort of maintaining any leads that come in, or at least assisting with anything else at that time, while she may be in the air or traveling to Florida or busy out there, I was elected to become a co-case agent on this case.
And a case agent essentially is the person that's in charge of that particular investigation. Would that be a fair statement?
It is. It's someone that assists in coordinating the duties of other detectives and ensuring that things get done, and that if there's a logical path for us to take, then that we take it.
And so at that time, on that particular date, did you review additional MySpace information for Tammi Smith?
Yes, I did.
And that was obtained by Detective Larson?
That's correct.
Okay, and since then it's been certified, correct?
That is correct.
We're going to be talking about Exhibit 202 previously admitted, which is Tammi Smith's MySpace information. Now, in regards to Tammi Smith's MySpace information, did you receive a voluminous amount of information in relation to her account?
Yes, I did.
Okay, in fact, it was like almost 1,000 pages or something like that?
If I were to print it out, it would be a tremendous amount of documentation, yes.
All right. So in regards to what we're going to talk about here today, did you select the most important things that had relevancy to this case?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And we've seen something like this before. What is this?
Much like what we saw with Elizabeth, this is the information that MySpace had on record for Tammi Smith. That gave an indication as to the information that had been provided to MySpace at the time that this account was created. So it lists a user number here, which is a user number shown below linking to Tammi Peter Smith. The user number was 138896839.
Okay. And does it indicate a date of birth, occupation, location?
Yes, it does.
And is that in Glendale, Arizona?
Yes.
All right, as well as an email address?
That's correct.
Okay, and the date and IP that she signed up with?
That is correct.
All right, and is the date 12/14/2006?
Yes, it is.
Okay, do you recall how far back the records went that you received?
If I recall, I believe the records went back to 2008.
All right. Now, the first message that we have, could you please tell us the date and time of that message?
It is September 17th, 2008 at 3:58 p.m.
Okay. And it is from the MySpace account of Tammi Smith, correct?
That is correct.
And then a user that is unknown at this time.
That's correct.
All right. And could you please read the heading and the text of the message?
It reads, "I'm going to China." And then the body of the text message reads, We decided to adopt a baby from China. We are working on all the things to adopt here in the States, and I will fly out sometime between December and March to pick her up. I'm so excited. Actually, I'm flying to Taiwan because our missionary here has an orphanage there with so many Chinese babies that need a loving Christian home. But Jack said we can only have one. LOL.
And LOL, are you familiar with what that means?
I am. I believe it stands for laugh out loud.
Okay. And is that something that people often use in emails or text messages as a shortened version of saying laugh out loud?
That's correct.
Could you please tell us the date and time of the next message?
It is November 20th, 2008 at 12:40 p.m. And it's from the MySpace account associated with Tammi Smith, going to another unknown account recipient.
Okay. And could you read us the heading and the text of that message?
Yes. It reads, "Hi, my name is Tammi. I'm from Arizona. I know this is going to sound weird, but me, my husband, and our daughter are in search of a surrogate to have a baby for us. I was hoping to find someone in California since the laws of surrogacy in Arizona are so weird. I was wondering if you could pass this along to any military wives that you know that may be interested in becoming a surrogate for us. We are willing to pay $700 a month for the full 10 months.
And the next message, could you please tell us the date and time of that message?
It is also November 20th, 2008 at 1:02 p.m. And it's from the MySpace account associated with Tammi Smith. And the text of the message, including the header and the body, reads, "Hi, Molly. My name is Tammi, in parentheses, from Arizona. This is going to sound weird, but I was wondering if you know of any military wives living in California that might be interested in becoming a surrogate for us. Me, my husband, and our 3-year-old daughter want a baby so badly, and my attorney said we need a surrogate in California because of Arizona law. He said it's best to get someone in the military because of their insurance. We are willing to pay the surrogate $900 per month for the whole 10 months. If you know anyone that might be interested at all, please have them call or email us. Thank you and God bless, Tammi." Okay,
and could you please tell us the date and time of this next message?
This is also November 20th, 2008 at 1:09 p.m. And it's from the MySpace account associated with Tammi Smith to an unknown MySpace user. And it reads, "Can you help me with some advertising? ? And then the body of the message reads, "Me, my husband, and our 3-year-old daughter want to have a baby desperately. We are looking for a military wife in California to become a traditional surrogate for us. We are willing to pay $900 per month for 10 months. Please help me figure out how to find someone, even if I have to pay to be on the show or whatever. Thanks, Tammi."
And the next message, could you please tell us the date and time and who it's from?
It's also November 20th, 2008 at 11:00 p.m. It's from the MySpace account associated with Tammi Smith to an unknown account. And it reads in the header line, "Do you know any ... multiple dots." And then the body of the message reads, "Military wives in California that might want to be a surrogate for us and have our baby. We are desperately looking and have not found the right one. We are willing to pay $800 per month for the whole 10 months. Please spread the word as my 3-year-old daughter is wondering where her new baby is. LOL. You can email or call us at..." Signed, thanks, Tammi.
Okay, and the next message? What is the date and time of this message?
This message is also dated November 20th, 2008 and the message is sent at 9:18 p.m. from the MySpace account associated with Tammi Smith to an unknown account. The header of the message reads, "I am looking for ... and the message body reads, "A surrogate in California. We have been trying to find a traditional surrogate to have a baby for us in California for a while. If you know of anyone that would like to try it, we are offering $800 per month for the entire 10 months. My 3-year-old," and then in parentheses it has the word adopted, "daughter is getting antsy, LOL. Please call us at..." Then it's signed, "Thank you and God bless, Tammi, Jack," and then the girl's name.
And this message here, could you please tell us the date and time of this message?
The original message is dated March 22nd, 2009 at 12:43 a.m.
And are you referring to this portion right here?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and then is this portion dated March 30th, 2009 at 9:31 a.m. the response?
That's correct.
And then this up here refers to the response indicated here, is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, so if you could read from the bottom up in chronological order this thread.
It reads from Tammi Smith's MySpace account, and the subject line says, "Just wondering, ... And then the body of the message reads, "We have been trying to adopt a baby for over a year. We live in Phoenix, Arizona. We are open to an open adoption. Your picture and comment looked as though you were alone and may be willing to give the baby up for adoption. I do not mean to offend you at all. We have an adoption attorney that we are working with, and he told us to check all resources. Thank you and God bless. I'm sorry if my instincts were wrong. We just have so much love waiting to give another child. We adopted our little girl as well. She's almost 4 and desperate for a baby sister or brother. Tammi."
Okay, and what is the response to that message?
The response is dated March 30th, 2009 at 9:31 a.m. And it says, "Sorry, but you were wrong. I would never give my child up for adoption, and I have a husband, and we're a very happy family."
And then is there a response from Tammi Smith's email account at that time?
Yes, there is.
And what is that? What is the date and time of that response?
It's March 31st, 2009 at 7:48 in the morning.
And what is the actual text of the response?
"I wish you all the luck in the world. Please accept my apologies."
Okay. Now, did you do any follow-up regarding this particular posting?
I did.
And what did you do?
Using the numbers that are associated here on the display as to who she was communicating with, I was able to go to the MySpace website and look up that posting and see who this other person was that she had sent this message to. At least see what is visible to the public.
All right. And that was sometime during December of 2009 or January of 2010 that you did that follow-up?
That is correct.
Okay, and that's several months after this message has been posted, correct?
Yes, it is.
All right. Were you able to receive, or did you get any information that was of use in this case regarding that user?
I never had contact with that user regarding this investigation.
Okay. Just the MySpace page?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Okay. And this message here, could you please tell us the date and time of this message?
This is dated December 31st, 2009 at 9:09 a.m.
And who is this to and from?
This is to the MySpace account associated with Tammi Smith, and it's going to the MySpace account associated with Elizabeth.
All right. And is this message, this is an entire message that was posted on that date, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And could you please read the text of that message?
The subject line lists Gabriel, and the body of the message reads, "Okay, I'm going to try and help you here, and I pray that you understand and do the right thing so you and Gabriel can be free forever. Detective Patricia Ramirez came here yesterday to do an interview with us. She is now leading the investigation because she deals with homicide and sex crimes. She said that if you go to any police officer," and then in parentheses it lists, "write down your name and Gabriel's name with Detective Ramirez's name and phone number," and then it provides a phone number on it, "and give it to the officer. And then the parentheses closes. Tell him to take a good look at you two, and then once you leave, he can call Detective Ramirez to let her know you two are both safe. And then in all caps, otherwise. They are starting a homicide investigation, exclamation point. What that means is, right now, and then in parentheses is the word today, you are not in trouble. You're one of millions of mothers that leaves the state to keep her child safe from the horrible father. It's not kidnapping. You have every right to take your own child. You can even look on public records. There is no warrant out for you. But because of what you said, if you don't do this in the next few days, it will turn into a murder investigation and Detective Ramirez can no longer help. The FBI will pick the case up and you will be seen on America's Most Wanted. Your face will be seen everywhere and nobody will want to help you because they believe you are a murderer. You will be going on with your life, and when you least expect it, in parentheses, someone you thought was your friend wanted a $25,000 reward and quietly turned you in. I know you didn't kill him, but the police don't know that. There just need to verify he's not dead or hurt, and you can live the rest of your life not having to hide anymore. All you have to do is take a long drive and see a cop on the side of the road in a city and give him the paper and ask him to call her to verify you two are safe. You don't need to tell him why. As one of the officers said, you are not in trouble. You have the right to take your own child, but it's like having a parking ticket and robbing the bank to pay your parking ticket. If you never paid that parking ticket, you wouldn't be in trouble. But if you do an armed robbery at the bank, they will send out a nationwide search for you, like they will in a few days if you don't show that he is safe. But it needs to be verified through a police officer in order to stop it from going to the FBI. Gosh, this is like crazy. Logan really messed things up with all his threats of you kidnapping and Amber Alerts and stuff. He's so stupid. It's only kidnapping if you lost your rights to the child, and you are the one with custody, so he doesn't even have a horse in the race. I wish you would have never said that. Everything would have been fine. Take care and be safe. Love, Tammy.
And is that the end of the messages with regard to this account?
Yes, it is.
Now, on January 4th, 2010, that's when you review these messages, correct?
Yes, it was.
All right. Did you also prepare a preservation letter for Elizabeth Johnson's Yahoo account?
Yes, I did.
All right. And did you receive the following day a package regarding her account?
Yes, I did.
And were you able to review those messages?
I did.
All right. And were you able to verify that there were messages regarding selling her dogs?
Yes, there were.
And messages regarding giving baby stuff away?
I'm sorry, if I may clarify with our
Sure.
report. Just to clarify, it wasn't selling her dogs. She actually wanted to purchase dogs from the messages that I recall.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was my misunderstanding.
And I'm sorry, I forgot the second.
Sure. Regarding giving baby items away?
That's correct.
Okay. And were those posted, was that posted on December 21st, 2009?
I have actually the date that it was posted for her giving baby items away. I have in my notes here December 12th, 2009.
I'm sorry, that's my mistake. Again, I transposed the letters. December 12th is the correct date.
That's correct.
All right. And on that date, January 5th, 2010, did you also obtain CPS records of Elizabeth Johnson?
Yes, I did.
On January 5th, 2010, did you also listen to a phone call that had occurred between Elizabeth Johnson, Tammi Smith, and Bob Johnson?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and where did you listen to that phone call?
I was sitting in a van of a KPHO Channel 5 news van that was parked in the parking lot of one of our police substations.
Okay, and did they actually invite you to come in and review the call that they had recorded?
Yes, they did.
And the parties to that conversation knew it was being recorded, correct?
Yes, they did.
Okay. In fact, there was a reporter present during the phone conversation.
That is correct.
On that date as well, did you receive information about Elizabeth Johnson's car being located in San Antonio?
Yes, I did.
And was that across from a bus station?
Yes, it was.
Now I'm going to draw your attention to the date of January 6, 2010. At that time, did you receive a box of evidence from the Miami Police Department?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And you actually went through that box earlier with the Miami detective, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And those are all the items that were received by the Tempe Police Department?
That is correct.
Now, specifically, there was a Motorola cell phone found on Elizabeth Johnson that was in that box, correct?
That is correct.
All right, and you had an opportunity to review that cell phone?
Yes, I did.
Now, Detective Welling assisted you in that, correct?
Yes, he did.
All right, and initially, a forensic was attempted to be done on the phone, but you ended up having to manually examine it. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and by manually examine it, what does that mean?
We had to, rather than being able to take out the computer chips and the workings of the phone and download those to a system, we had to manipulate the phone with our fingers, much like you would your own personal phone.
Okay, and did you once you manipulated the screen, did you take photographs of each screen?
Yes.
In particular, did you take a photograph of the phone itself?
Yes.
And then a phone of each screen, or picture of each screen, documenting the text messages that were stored within that phone?
That's correct.
As well as calls that were placed and missed calls?
Yes.
And calls that were received?
Yes.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
I'm showing you what's marked as Exhibit 205. Do you recognize that, Detective?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and what is this?
These are the screenshot images that were taken of that phone that day of that exam.
And you had a chance to go over this before coming to the courtroom today, correct?
Yes, I did.
The photographs that are contained within this file folder are simply the photographs of text messages that pertain to this case. Is that fair?
Yes, it is.
All right, because there were actually more text messages on the phone than that are in this folder. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, but those don't have anything to do with this case and are outside the time frame of December 2009.
That's correct.
All right, I would move for the admission of Exhibit 205 at this time.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Exhibit 205 is admitted.
Detective, I'm going to show you what's marked as Exhibit 204. Do you recognize what's within that folder?
Yes, I do.
And what is contained within that folder?
That's an Excel spreadsheet that I did based upon the images from that phone.
Okay, and this Excel spreadsheet, does it document the text messages, who they're between, the date and time?
Yes, it does.
And it does it in a linear fashion so that it can be understood?
That's correct. It's in chronological format.
Okay. In addition, you also documented the calls that were located on the log of that phone, correct?
That's correct.
Now, this document indicates that there are 38 pages total However, all 38 pages are not contained within this folder. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. The only messages and phone calls that are contained within this folder are those that deal with this case,
Yes,
between the parties involved in this case, and any extraneous information was removed. Is that correct?
that's correct.
Your Honor, the state would move to enter into evidence Exhibit 204 at this time.
Any objection?
No, you're okay.
Exhibit 204 is admitted.
And just so we can show the jury a little bit of the photographs that were taken, is this a photograph of the cell phone that you examined?
Yes, it is.
Is this the main screen of the phone as it was turned on?
That's correct.
And 8:50 p.m., is that the time which you examined the phone? Or at least what the phone was indicating at that time?
It's within the time that I examined the phone, assuming that the time and date stamp on the phone are correct, but yes. And that is the date that it was examined, so.
Okay. Now, this photograph here, does this indicate text messages that were received on the phone?
It does.
And is this a directory of sorts of what text messages are on the phone?
That's correct. It's like a face sheet that sort of gives you an indication as to what different discussion threads there are on the phone. It appeared to be one of those phones where you could have different discussion threads going on with different people at a time, and so depending on which thread you wanted or which person you wanted to speak with, you would choose that thread and continue a dialogue with them.
Okay.
So that's all this screen appears to be.
Okay. And did you go through then and take pictures of the exact texts?
Yes.
Okay. And all of these text messages are also in the chart that you created?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
You're going to put something up. Put it, unless you're intending on not letting the jury read it, put it long enough so they can read it.
Okay.
Because it was there and then gone before they had a chance to look at it. So if the idea is just simply let him identify a page, let him look at it. If you're going to put it on the screen, put it long enough so they can
Sure,
read
Your
it.
Honor.
Thank you.
And I've forwarded through a lot of the all the text messages that are within this folder, and this here appears to be something different. What is this screenshot of?
That's a screenshot that gives an indication of the call history from that phone.
Okay.
And that screenshot is just showing the first page of calls to and from that phone. Missed calls, answered calls, pretty much everything that came in and out of that phone would have been on a screen like that.
So, for example, on this first call log, it indicates that it was answered on December 21st?
That's correct.
Okay. The next one down indicates that it was dialed on December 21st?
Yes.
Okay. And then here it doesn't indicate a number but a name. Does that indicate that this number was perhaps saved in the phone under a contact?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, and all these are documented in your chart, correct?
Yes, they are.
Now, the call log will also show if a call was missed.
That is correct.
Okay, so that means that this caller who happened to be unavailable was missed on December 23rd.
Yes.
Now, when looking at this call log as well, what does it mean when there's a number next to, for example, here it says missed?
In this example, there's the number 3 in parentheses, and then it's missed, and basically that's indicating that on December 24th, there were 3 missed calls from Tammy.
Okay.
Or at least the subject that's listed as Tammy in her contact list.
Okay. And then where it says answered, does that mean there were 2 answered calls on that date?
Correct.
Did you indicate in your chart missed calls, dialed calls, or just calls that were actually placed?
I'd have to refer to my chart again just to be certain.
Okay.
Would you like me to do that now?
Sure.
No, in my chart, I also indicated the calls that were missed, the calls that were answered, the calls that were dialed.
Okay. And so, for example, here on December 27th, it says Loga, L-O-G-A. There were 30 dialed calls.
That's correct.
And 2 answered,
Yes.
and 4 missed from what the screen says, Tammy.
That's correct.
Okay, I'm going to show you your chart now. And, well, I'm going to publish the chart now, and we'll go through the messages, okay?
Okay.
Okay, this first set of messages, does this, where this black line is, does that mean it's between Elizabeth and Loga or Logan McQueary during this set of texts?
That's correct. Basically, those black lines designate the start and end of that discussion thread.
Okay, and if you could please go through this discussion thread.
On December 27th at 12:53 p.m., Elizabeth sends a text message to Logan stating, "I killed him."
Okay.
On December 27th, 2009 at 1:17 p.m., Elizabeth sends a text message to Logan stating, "Coward bitch." On December 27th, 2009 at 1:19 p.m., Elizabeth sends a text message to Logan, "Pathetic loser, run to daddy." On December 27th, 2009 at 1:23 p.m., Elizabeth sends a text message to Logan, "Fine, don't talk to me, asshole, but you will never see Gabriel again. I made sure of that, and you can spend the rest of your pathetic life wondering about him." On December 27th, 2009 at 1:27 p.m., Elizabeth sends a text message to Logan, "You will never find me. I'm already boarding a plane out of the country. When I'm safe, I'll email you the exact location of dead Gabriel's little blue body. If..." And then there's a continuation email, same date, at 1:31 p.m. from Elizabeth to Logan. "If the garbage don't come first. Well, I'm done with you two fucks. This is what liars like you deserve."
And then the next group of texts are between Elizabeth and somebody identified as Malcolm Phipps.
Correct.
All right. And could you please go through those text messages?
On December 25th, 2009 at 9:21 p.m., Malcolm Phipps sends a text message to Elizabeth. "Logan came by, wanted to come in, said he'd be back with the cops again in a couple days. Anyway, no worries. Hope your Christmas was good." Then there's a text message on December 27th, 2009 at 3:19 p.m. from Malcolm Phipps to Elizabeth. "More cops just came by. Call me if you get a minute." Then there was a text message on the 27th at 3:22 p.m. from Elizabeth to Malcolm Phipps. "Call dropped." And that was the actual text message as it was typed. Then on the 27th, December 27th, 2009 at 3:24 p.m., there was a text message from Malcolm Phipps to Elizabeth. No problem. Be safe. See you when you get back.
Okay, and does that conversation continue at the top of this page?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
There's a text message from Malcolm Phipps to Elizabeth on 12/27/09 at 7:23 p.m. By the way, the cops have been parked out front since I first called you today. On that same date, December 27th, 2009, at 7:26 p.m., Elizabeth responds to Malcolm, "Bullshit, everyone knows where I am, how to contact me when I'm coming home, and now they are staking out my house like I'm a criminal. I'm so sick of L-O-G. Then it continues on December 27th, 2009, at 7:28 p.m., Elizabeth sends a text message to Malcolm Phipps. "Logan's bullshit, telling people shit, sorry and thanks, I don't know what he is trying to pull." Then there's a text message on December 27th, 2009 at 7:31 p.m. from Malcolm to Elizabeth. "It's okay, really puts a crimp in my drug dealing though." And then there's an icon that I recognize as being a smiley face. Then on December 27th, 2009 at 7:48 p.m., there's a text message from Elizabeth to Malcolm Phipps, LOL.
Okay, and does that end the text messages between Elizabeth and Malcolm Phipps?
Yes, it does.
All right. Now, the next set of text messages are those between Elizabeth and Tammi Smith.
Yes, they are.
All right, and if you could please read these texts.
On December 22nd, 2009 at 12:47 p.m., Elizabeth writes to Tammi, "Hey, it's Elizabeth. I'm sorry I was going to call, but I have been scared. We are all right, though. I can't talk right now. What serious information do I need to?" And then there's a continuation text message at that same time on that same date from Elizabeth to Tammi, and all it says is no. K-N-O-W.
And does Tammi respond?
She does. On December 22nd at 12:49 p.m., "Call me. It's too much to tell over a text. We will not judge you. Just call me." And then on the 25th at 8:34 in the morning, Tammi writes to Elizabeth, "Merry Christmas."
Okay, and does Elizabeth respond?
Yes, she does. She replies, "Merry Christmas," at 8:35 a.m.
And are there additional messages?
Yes, there are.
All right, could you please start with the one on, well, at the top of the page on December 26th?
December 26th at noon, Tammi, she provides a phone number with a 615. "This is the number to my friend Janet Morris in Tennessee. Call her. She can give you all the legal advice you need to know. Then call me and we'll talk. Tammi." On that date on the next date, December 27th, 2009 at 11:50 a.m., Tammi writes to Elizabeth, "Is everything okay? I've tried calling you and it keeps disconnecting." On December 27th, 2009 at 1:08 p.m., Elizabeth writes to Tammi, "No, I'm not okay. I am upset and scared." On December 27th, 2009 at 1:09 p.m., Tammi writes to Elizabeth, call me, I am here for you." On December 27th, 2009 at 1:10 p.m., Tammi writes to Elizabeth, "What's going on now? Has done something? Question mark. On December 27th, 2009 at 1:33 p.m., Elizabeth writes to Tammi, "I hate myself. I can never do anything right." On December 27th, 2009 at 1:36 p.m., Tammi writes to Elizabeth, "Yes, you can. I was just like you many years ago until I met Jack. He built up my confidence and supported me in whatever I wanted to do. He changed my life and then there's a continuation email, or text message rather, that same day, 1 minute later. "We can help you change your life and finally be happy and secure. I had a effed up life and thought I was just a piece of shit made by my parents, but they don't." And then Elizabeth writes back on the 27th at 1:40 p.m., "It's too late for me. I'm going to be charged with kidnapping, get a felony, and go to jail." Tammi writes to Elizabeth on December 27th, 2009 at 1:40 p.m., "Define me anymore, and your past doesn't have to define you either. Come home and stay with us. We'll open a bottle of red wine." in parentheses, that's what I drink, and talk.
In that message there, does that appear to be a continuation of this message up here?
That's correct.
Okay, however, this one was received in between.
That's correct.
Okay, and how does that conversation continue?
Tammy writes to Elizabeth on December 27th, 2009 at 1:40 p.m. No, you're not. Who said that? Elizabeth writes to Tammy on December 27th at 1:41 p.m. Your lawyer told me that yesterday. Tammy writes to Elizabeth on December 27th at 1:42 p.m. My lawyer can shut? With a question mark. Elizabeth writes to Tammy on December 27th at 1:43 p.m. I can't come back. I won't go to jail. I'd rather die. Plus, you could get charged with aiding and abetting. Then on December 27th at 1:43 p.m., Elizabeth writes to Tammy, no, the girl won. And I'm assuming that in context is in response to Elizabeth's question earlier, asking about which lawyer.
Okay. And does the conversation continue at that point?
It does. On the 27th at 2:10 p.m., Tammy writes to Elizabeth, I just got off the phone with my lawyer, Ken, and then in parentheses, BTW, which I know stands for, by the way, that girl isn't an attorney. She just works with them. And then close parentheses. He said, since you never got served, you don't have to show tomorrow, but you will. And then there's a continuation email 2 minutes later at 2:12 p.m. Have to show for the next hearing. The judge may be mad at you, but not do much, but yell at you. My attorney will explain all the threats and smooth it over tomorrow. We'll let you know. And then there's another continuation 1 minute later at 2:13 p.m. on that same date. What the judge said tomorrow, and our attorney will call you after court to tell you. Elizabeth writes back to Tammy on December 27th at 2:13 p.m. Okay. Tammy writes to Elizabeth on December 27th at 2:15 p.m. Everything's fine as long as you make it to the next hearing after tomorrow. And then there's an icon that I recognize to be a smiley face. So cheer up.
And does the conversation also continue?
It does.
All right. And could you please tell us about the continuation?
On December 27th at 2:20 p.m., Tammy writes to Elizabeth, keep your hotel receipts, though. On December 27th at 2:21 p.m., Elizabeth writes back, why? On December 27th at 2:29 p.m., Tammy writes to Elizabeth, I just need to know if you are going to be at the second hearing, because I don't want to spend all this money for my attorney if you don't plan to go. So let me know ASAP, okay? Please. On December 27th at 2:31 p.m., Elizabeth writes to Tammy, no, I don't plan on going, so don't. I'm just going to stay in hiding. On December 27th at 2:34 p.m., Tammy writes to Elizabeth, wow, I will pray for you. You are making a huge mistake. We are willing to help you if you do the right thing, but we can't help you break the law. You're not in trouble yet. And then Tammy writes to Elizabeth again on that same date at 2:39 p.m. What happens if he gets sick or in 2 years breaks an arm or something? You can't take him to a hospital. You're making me cry for him, and you too. We love you both. And then on this same date at 3:20 p.m., Tammy writes to Elizabeth, you need to call me. I need to hear Gabriel cry, even if you have to pinch him. The police called me and listened to a message from you saying you killed Gabriel. Please call ASAP. Then there's a message on the 27th at 3:25 p.m. from Elizabeth to Tammy. And this reads, I'm driving, have no reception. Yeah, I texted Logan that to hurt him and mess with him to get back at him. Call keeps dropping. And then Tammy writes to Elizabeth on the 27th at 3:28 p.m. Can you please call me when you have reception so I can hear him, so everyone knows he's okay? Are you on the run? Can you at least call the police here? Tammy writes to Elizabeth on December 27th at 3:38 p.m. Okay.
Okay, and does the conversation continue?
It does.
right, and that's still on the date of December 27th, 2009?
Yes.
All right, and could you please finish out that conversation?
Tammy reads to Elizabeth on December 27th at 5:25 p.m. Are you in town yet? Please call me. I need to hear Gabriel. Please don't run. Come home. Stop at a gas station and call me on somebody else's phone, please. Then Tammy writes to Elizabeth on December 27th at 6:44 p.m. Please let me know that you both are okay. I don't know if Logan found you and hurt you or something. Then on December 27th at 8:27 p.m., Tammy writes to Elizabeth, the detectives just left our house. Detective Aguilera is a nice man that doesn't like what Logan's dad is doing. In parentheses, she writes, he knows, and he wants to help you. He's a detective. And then Tammy writes to Elizabeth on December 27th at 8:28 p.m., a detective is way higher than a cop. He said he can definitely help you. Call or text me and I'll give you his number.
All right, and does that end the text messages that were observed on the phone from Elizabeth Johnson?
Yes.
Between her and Tammi Smith?
Yes.
Now, there's another thread of conversation after that I believe is about a page and a half, and that is between somebody listed as Annalisa De La Rosa.
That's correct.
And do we have information about who that person is?
Yes.
Who is that?
The investigation revealed that Annalisa was a person living in San Antonio, and she had placed an ad in Craigslist offering her services as a babysitter. And that on occasion she had been hired by Elizabeth Johnson to watch over Gabriel while Elizabeth left the motel room.
While she was in San Antonio?
While she was in San Antonio, yes.
Okay. And so this original thread of conversation begins on December 22nd, 2009?
Yes, it does.
Okay, at 9:09 a.m.?
That's correct.
All right, and tell us about that.
Annalisa writes to Elizabeth, I'm on my way, and buses take forever sometimes. On that same date, at that same time, Elizabeth writes back to Annalisa, okay, thanks. On December 22nd at 10:19 a.m., Annalisa writes to Elizabeth, the bus doesn't come until 10:40. I just called and checked. And then it looks like Annalisa sent that exact same message on that same date, just about 3 minutes later.
Okay.
Elizabeth writes back on December 22nd at 10:24 to Annalisa, okay. On December 22nd at 10:25 a.m., Annalisa writes to Elizabeth, sorry, tomorrow I'll leave my house earlier.
And does that conversation continue here?
Yes, it does.
All right, and if you could...
On December 22nd at 12:32 p.m., Elizabeth writes to Annalisa, how's it going? Elizabeth then writes to Annalisa on that same date at 12:33 p.m., I'm sorry for getting a little short with you. Elizabeth again writes to Annalisa on December 22nd at 12:33 p.m. again, I understand buses suck. On December 22nd, 2009 at 12:38 p.m., Annalisa writes to Elizabeth, it's okay, I'm sorry for being late. I don't want you to think that is a regular thing for me. I hate being late. But your son is cute. Smiley face. Funny too, he is asleep. Then Annalisa writes to Elizabeth on December 22nd, 2009 at 12:40. He crashed out after he ate and played. On December 22nd at 12:41 p.m., Elizabeth writes to Annalisa, LOL, lucky you, he never sleeps for me. On December 22nd at 12:44 p.m., Annalisa writes to Elizabeth, LOL, and that's because I wasn't even trying to put him to sleep. He was playing and then wanted to be held, so I was holding him and he knocked out. So he's fine, in good hands. On December 22nd, 2009 at 1:37 p.m., Annalisa writes to Elizabeth, does the baby have a jacket or something? On December 22nd, 2009 at 1:52 p.m., Elizabeth writes to Annalisa, no, just his jumper. On December 22nd, 2009 at 1:57 p.m., Annalisa writes to Elizabeth, okay, it's not cold outside. I'm going to take him for a wall. It actually reads here, wall, when the housekeeper leaves.
And does that end the conversation as far as the text that you observed on the phone?
Yes.
And then your chart lists all calls per phone, dialed, missed, or answered the date, and if the owner had been identified.
That's correct.
Okay. And the source of where the identification came from?
That's correct.
Okay. And that continues for the rest of your chart, correct?
Yes, it does.
And I believe here's where you indicate there were 2 dialed calls on that date to that person. For example, here, Annalisa.
That's correct.
Okay.
The page before, it showed a heading of frequency, meaning the frequency of calls, the number of calls between those parties. If you look up at the scroll up, we have the page right before that you just showed me. It's the very first page. It'll show frequency. On that next page, it lists in that column as being a time, but that's a typo. Meant to be frequency there as well.
Okay. So the column here is meant to be the frequency of
That's correct.
calls on that particular date.
That's correct.
To that particular number.
That's correct.
Now that review was all done on January 6, 2010?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And on that same date, did you draft a search warrant for Elizabeth Johnson's home?
No, I did not. On this date, I drafted a search warrant for the contents of her Yahoo email address,
Okay.
if I recall. I apologize. On this date, I did not draft a search warrant for Elizabeth Johnson's home or her Yahoo email address. What I did do is I drafted a search warrant for the box that had been received to us by the Miami Beach Police Department.
And I'm going to draw your attention to the date of January 8th. At that time, did you go to a substation of the Tempe Police Department?
Yes, I did.
And while you were there, did you speak with Tammi Smith?
Yes, I did.
And where were you when you were speaking with her? Outside, inside, something different?
We were inside the substation. There was like a little break room that's set up inside there, and we were sitting at a conference table in that break.
Okay. And was this the date of her interview with David Hutchins?
Yes, it is.
Now, on that date, he also interviewed her husband, Jack Smith, correct?
That's correct.
And did you speak with her while Jack Smith was being interviewed?
Yes, I did.
All right, and during that time, did she relay to you some information about the investigation?
She did.
All right. That time, did she tell you that she remembered seeing a GPS in Elizabeth Johnson's car on the date that she last saw her?
Yes, she did.
All right, in the church parking lot in Scottsdale?
That's correct.
Okay. And at that time, was that the first time you had heard that information?
That's the first time I'd heard that information.
Okay. And did she relay to you information regarding speaking to Logan McQueary?
Yes, she did.
Okay, and can you tell us a little bit about what she was talking to you about with regard to Logan McQueary?
Tammy was stating that she was upset at Logan, that Logan had been threatening her, and making her feel uncomfortable about this situation.
Okay, did she specifically state that his threats were verbal to her?
Yes, she did.
Okay, and that he was violent sounding towards her.
That's correct.
Did she give you the context of why she was talking to him at that time?
She did. She told me that they were discussing the situation with Gabriel, and that Logan had stated to her something to the effect of, or at least what she was purporting the threat to contain, was something to the extent of, Logan saying if Gabriel is not found soon, Elizabeth will be held responsible for this as well. Anyone else that may be assisting Elizabeth will also be held responsible legally.
And you are aware that Logan McQueary recorded his conversations with Tammi Smith?
Yes, I am.
I'm going to draw your attention to the date of January 9th, 2010. That time were you asked to prepare a presentation for the San Antonio Police Department?
Yes, I was.
Okay, and what did you do to prepare for that presentation?
At this point, basically, it was trying to gather everything that we had done over the last 2 weeks, starting from the initial report, the original report, and the initial officer, synopsis of the recordings that had been made, analysis of the text messages and cell phone records, and everything basically to synopsize our report, to encapsulate everything, all the major factors in our report to present to the San Antonio Police Department so that at least they can be caught up to speed with where we're at in the investigation.
And did you request Detective Duplessis to assist you with that investigation?
Yes, I did.
Duplessis? And did he in fact summarize some information for you to place into that presentation?
That is correct.
And on January 11th, did you finish that presentation?
Yes, I did.
And did you travel to San Antonio at that time?
Yes, I did.
And who did you travel with?
I traveled with my acting supervisor at the time, as well as my lieutenant. I also traveled there with a special agent from the FBI, as well as a representative from Team Adam, which is a group that is operated through the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
And while you were there, did you review some property that Elizabeth Johnson had left behind at the hotel?
Yes, I did.
And copies of that were provided?
Yes, they were.
Now, did the presentation to the San Antonio Police Department actually occur on January 12th?
Yes, it did.
And at that time, you relayed all the information that the Tempe Police Department had at that time to San Antonio?
As best I could in that presentation, yes.
And what was the purpose of that presentation?
At this point in the investigation, it was to the point where even with the help of the FBI field office in San Antonio, it got to the point where we were now operating a missing person investigation from approximately 1,600 miles away. And it's something with us not having the knowledge of the area and the geographic layout of San Antonio and the access to their immediate databases. It was one of those situations that we had pretty much done all that we could feasibly do from our standpoint in Tempe, and we got to that point where we felt it was time to advise San Antonio of the investigation, get them caught up to speed so that they continue a suitable investigation on their end.
And did you return from that presentation on January 13th, 2010?
Yes, I did.
And at that time...
I'm sorry, the evening of January 12th.
January 12th,
Yes.
Oh, but you returned to work on the 13th.
That's correct.
And at that time, did you receive several voicemails from Tammi Smith?
Yes, I did.
And those were all left while you were gone in San Antonio giving the presentation to their police department?
That is correct.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
I'm showing what's marked as Exhibit 157. Detective...
What was that? 157?
157. Detective, what is that within that envelope?
This is a CD. It contains my handwriting on the inside package of the CD, as well as my initials on the outside seal. And it's got a label indicating that I impounded this item. And it lists that it is a CD containing 4 digital files of 4 voicemail messages left to me by Tammi Smith.
And are those the 4 messages that were left while you were gone to San Antonio?
Yes, they are.
Specifically, was there a message left on January 11th, 2010?
Yes, there was.
2 on January 12th, 2010?
That's correct.
And 1 on January 13th, 2010?
Yes.
Your Honor, the state would move to enter into evidence at this time exhibit number 157.
Any objection? Exhibit 157 is admitted.
And Your Honor, I would like to play this for the jury, but perhaps this would be a good time to take our break.
Okay, we're right about our break time. That'll give us time to make sure the technology's working too, so we can accomplish both things. So we're going to take our afternoon break. We'll come back in about 15 minutes. Until then, remember the admonition. We'll see you in about 15 minutes. Okay, we're back on the record. We're outside the presence of the jury. A couple juror issues I wanted to talk to you about. First, probably a minor issue. We've got a juror, I think it's juror number 5, whose stomach doesn't feel very well, so we'll have to keep an eye on her. I think she's okay, but I just want to, I'll be looking over there in case I see that she's in distress. We may have to make an adjustment, but she's been okay. The second one, more significant, it's juror number 10. Here's the deal. Juror number 10 is self-employed. She has been going around with the jury commissioner's office about reimbursement under the lengthy trial fund. That would be front left juror. The issue is that she feels like she needs to continue to serve her clients, so essentially she, on Friday and Saturday, is attempting to work with her clients, and the jury commissioner's office takes the position that they're going to subtract that amount from what you would get Monday through Thursday, because the idea is to compensate you for lost time. And if you go back and work hours and get paid, they essentially don't want you to be double paid even though you're working for that amount. It's kind of a complicated analysis. At first blush, you kind of think, well, they should just get paid for the time they're here Monday through Thursday. But that's not the purpose of the fund. The fund's purpose is to compensate you for lost income. And it actually harms folks who either bill by the hour or have clients that they feel like they need to service. And the long and the short of it is it's a problem for her, at least she perceives it's a problem. I spoke to the jury commissioner to make sure I understood the situation, and now I understand, and I just related to you what the problem is. They're also asking for her to provide them with essentially logs that show what she's been doing. Now, that would be a headache for anyone. Apparently, it's very upsetting for her, and she's expressed that she's very upset, and she's expressed that she's had it. So what I'm going to do, after we finish the testimony, I'm going to ask her to stay and then talk to her to try and assess where she's really at. I will tell you I'm concerned because I think she was, to some degree, potentially distracted Thursday. I could see it. And I think she may be getting distracted, or she is again distracted now, and we can't have her thinking about that, as understandable as it is, while going to trial. She needs to focus on what's going on here. She may verbalize to me that she's had it and she wants to leave, and then the choice is going to be, what do we do? If she's verbalizing that to me, and I know that she's got a significant issue, at least from her perspective, to be paid back, and I think the jury commissioner's doing a fine job and doing exactly what they should do, but it's tough because she is, you can see where she thinks she's getting penalized. If she's making it very clear to me that she's agitated and can't be here, I'm going to think about releasing her. It would send us down or put us down to one alternate. I don't like doing that. I think we're okay with a couple weeks left where we're not running into a problem, but let me talk to her and see. What I may do, if I feel like there's a chance that I may release her and I want to give you a chance to have some input, I may ask her to step out and wait, and then we'll talk about it. If I'm inclined to maybe release her, you'll know by me after I talk to her, seeing if you have any questions for her, although I'm not really excited about you asking questions. In fact, I'm not going to let you ask questions. I'll do all the talking. And have her wait, and then we'll discuss what we're going to do. before we send her home, because if I'm going to release her, I'm not going to make her come back tomorrow. So any questions about that? I wanted to let you know before I just told her to stay why I was telling her to stay. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and get the jury. Okay, thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Let the record reflect the presence of the jury panel now. Ms. Smith's here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Sorry we're a little bit late. We're ready to get going again. We left off with Detective Thompson and the direct examination. So, Ms. Romano, you may continue.
Thank you, Detective Thompson. Before the break, we left off regarding some voicemail messages that were left by the defendant in this case.
That's correct.
And actually, I want to go back a little bit, back to your your conversation with her on January 8th, 2009.
Yes.
And that's before these messages were left, correct?
That is correct.
All right. Now, at that time, she was discussing some facts about the investigation with you. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, that's fair.
Okay. Now, was there an issue or something that had come up about her typing something on a website about Elizabeth Johnson?
There was.
Okay, and can you tell us a little bit about that?
There was I believe it was a media report that there had been something typed by Tammi Smith stating that Elizabeth Johnson was in Texas and that she was receiving or had received quote-unquote underground help.
And that's what, did she tell you that she had in fact posted that somewhere?
Yes, she did.
Okay, did she indicate where she had posted that?
I'll have to refer to my report just to check.
Please let us know when your memories refresh.
Okay, thank you. In my report, it doesn't designate what website it was posted on. In my report, it just reads that on a website there had been posting of Elizabeth receiving underground help.
Okay. But she had acknowledged that she did in fact post that.
That's correct.
And did she try to provide an explanation to you of that?
She did.
Can you please tell us what that was?
She explained to me that Tammi had knowledge that while Elizabeth was in San Antonio, she had gone to a domestic violence shelter to seek help at that domestic violence shelter. Tammi explained to me that she did not want to deface, in her words, Logan McQueary at all, Gabriel's father. And so rather than saying deface him in terms of implying that Logan was abusive or that he was... Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I heard something.
Oh, okay.
In terms of him being abusive, she didn't want to imply that, and so she said that instead of writing that Elizabeth is at a domestic violence shelter, that she is getting underground help. That was her explanation.
And this was on January 8th when she said this to you?
That's correct.
And at that time, she was, to the best of your information, she was appearing on different media shows, giving interviews and talking about the case, correct?
Yes, she was.
In fact, during her meeting with you, did it come to your attention that there were various shows calling her?
Yes, that's correct.
And what happened?
We would be sitting there having a discussion, and partway through discussion, her phone would ring, and she would announce, to me who was calling on the phone. People programmed on the phone. She would announce, different nationally recognized talk shows were calling, and producers were calling, and they were requesting interviews of her.
Okay. And she was participating in those?
She was participating in the phone calls with the producers.
All right. Now, did she tell you at that time that she had encouraged Elizabeth Johnson to come back to Arizona for the court date?
Yes, she did.
And that Elizabeth had indicated she would come back?
That is correct.
All right. Did she also talk to you about information that she had gotten from Elizabeth Johnson about a child residing in Texas for 6 months?
Yes.
Can you explain a little bit about that?
Tammi stated that Elizabeth had told her that Elizabeth had contacted an official in Texas And during that time, Elizabeth had learned from this official that if the child were to reside in Texas for 6 months, then the child was therefore adoptable, was the quote. And she further explained that based upon Texas law, the father would have no rights of the child, especially in this situation where the child was born out of wedlock.
And was she also concerned at that time about checking Scottsdale Library computers?
Yes, she was.
And did she voice that concern to you?
She did.
Tell us about that.
Tammy explained to me that she had knowledge that Elizabeth might have been using the Scottsdale Public Library system to access the computers that they have there in order to access the internet before she left town. And so Tammy was expressing to me the possibility that there may be information on those computers that may help give us an idea as to the whereabouts or the intentions of Elizabeth or the whereabouts of Gabriel. Throughout the course of our investigation, we had learned that information, and not myself, but investigators had contacted the Scottsdale Library System and inquired as to the feasibility of looking up that data. With that system there that they had in place, they wiped the computers every night. And so there was no way that we could go back and look at any historical website traffic or anything like that from any time previous to that day. When Tammy asked me if we had done that, if we had gone to the Scottsdale Library System, I was very non-committal in my answer. Number one, I didn't want to, give information about the case. I didn't want to give any information that may elicit a follow-up question by her. So I was very non-committal, and I told her that we were doing various different things in the investigation. At that point, she stated something almost of what I felt was a challenge, stating, "Well, is it okay then if I tell some reporters in the news media about the possibility that there may be information on the Scottsdale Library System so that they can do their own checking?"
Okay. And had that checking already been done at that point?
Yes, it had.
And so when you indicate you were non-committal in your answer, you knew the answer to the question, you just you weren't giving her that information at that point.
That's correct.
All right, and drawing your attention back to January 13th, 2010, when you returned to work from San Antonio, you were met with 4 voicemails from the defendant at that time, correct?
Yes, it was.
All right. Your Honor, at this time, permission to publish Exhibit 157.
You may publish.
I will be the audio system. And actually, before I play them, the first message on January 11th, there's some mention of a body talk or cognitive memory session, and that's mentioned in a couple of the messages. Can you explain to the jury what that is to give them some context so that when they hear it in the message, they understand?
Yes. During my conversation with Tammy previously, I had offered the possibility of us getting back together at a later time when there isn't the distraction of a 3-year-old girl in the room with us, and there isn't the distraction of a cell phone, and we could take some time to actually sit down and talk about things, because already there had she had already recalled now seeing this GPS unit sitting in the dashboard of Elizabeth's car. So in the possibility that there may be additional information that Tammy had up here, but we just sort of needed some help verbalizing that, I wanted to at least offer up the possibility of doing something that's referred to as a cognitive interview. And basically it's just, like I explained, having a more relaxing environment, an environment that doesn't have a lot of disturbances, an environment where I would ask a person, in their own words, start from beginning to end, and almost like you're watching a DVD with every frame freezed, and you're just cycling forward frame by frame, and what do you see? What do you tell me? What do you see here? things like that. I would offer that to her for her to think back to that period of time when they were giving Gabriel to Elizabeth in the church parking lot. What do they recall? What does she recall from that period of time, in the hopes of eliciting a little bit more information, or maybe being able to recall something that hadn't been mentioned before. I don't recall ever referring to it as a body talk. I've never heard it referred to as a body talk. I believe that was a phrase that was offered by Tammi Smith.
And this first message is from January 11th, 2010.
Hi, John. This is Tammi Smith. I was wondering if you could get that body talk scheduled for me with the cognitive remembering and stuff, because, I figure the sooner you set it up, the sooner we can get in there and do that. And Jack was just sitting here talking to somebody, telling them the whole story. I guess they were doing a phone interview with him. And as he was talking, I remembered something that probably is insignificant, could be, but just the fact that, I'm already starting to lose the memory because I need to talk to somebody about it, but he's sitting here talking the whole time, and I figured I'd wait till he's done and call you. What was it? Oh, the fact that when she left, I had to get a hold of her on MySpace before she got a hold of me. And he was saying how rude that was of her, that the whole weekend, we're supposed to pick up the baby on Monday. We dropped him off Friday night, supposed to pick him up Monday morning at 8. But she didn't even call us the whole time to say, hey, I'm okay and this is what's going on. And so that just kind of leads me to believe that she, once again, like with the garment and everything, she knew that she was going somewhere. She had plans to go somewhere. So the only way she finally got in touch with us was Logan gave me her MySpace page, and we posted something on there saying that it was an emergency. She had to call us. So anyway, I'm sure that's insignificant, but to me, it's important because it just, once again, shows me that she just played us like a fiddle. So anyway, call me as soon as you can to get that set up. Thank you. 623-6. Hi, Detective Thompson. This is Tammi Smith.
And just briefly, is this next message from January 12th, 2010?
Yes, it is.
Staff are really upset because nobody ever returns our phone calls. We're supposed to be persons of interest, and nobody's interested in anything we have to say. Nobody will set up a meeting. I'd like to do this thing with this cognitive memory, and I don't understand. This is just very wrong. Something is not right here, and I keep calling saying I've got information, and nobody cares about anything that I have to say. And it's just very wrong. So please call us back, 623. Bye. Hi, Detective Thompson.
And likewise, this next message, is that also from January 12th, 2010?
Yes, it is.
And this is Tammi Smith. I've tried to get a hold of you and Detective Ramirez, mostly her. But anyway, if somebody could call me back, 623. I am wanting to do that thing that you were talking about, the body talk for the cognitive memory. I'd like to do that. I've been trying to kind of do that on my own at home, trying to think of different things. And I did come up with the stuff that I already told you, I think, yesterday or the day before. And then one other thing I came up with, too, was, and it's not even a help to the case, but something I completely forgot about until my cousin called me. Anyway, long story short, when Elizabeth filled out her paperwork, she put, because she told me she did not know the name of the other guy that needed to take the paternity test. And so we were joking about, well, maybe it's my cousin, and all this stuff. And she actually put his name there. So I don't want you guys running a rabbit trail. I mean, you guys can run whatever rabbit trail you want, but I mean, anyway, so just wanting to let you guys know that I told Detective Ramirez on her voicemail yesterday. So it's just one of those things, you know, it's like, okay, so she put that because I told her, you better not put, because she wanted to make up a phony name. And I said, you can't put a phony name because then he won't take the test. So, but anyway, it really was a joke to begin with. And so she ended up actually using that. So, anyway, I just would like somebody to call me back so we can get that cleared up, and then you guys can, you know, I don't know if you guys have even looked at looked at her file on that, because we're looking for a missing baby, not trying to figure out who the father is at this point. So, hi, Detective Thompson. This is Tammi Smith.
Great, and that message actually cut off at a certain point, correct?
Yes, it did.
Because it exceeded the time limit?
That's correct.
All right, so this next message then is on January 13th, 2010?
Yes, it is.
Please have somebody call me. I've called Detective Ramirez since Friday. I believe it was 12 times. I know I've called you a few times and left messages too, but not near as much as I have Detective Ramirez, and then another detective as well, and nobody will call me. You know, I mean, I don't know how to get you guys to call me. Do I say I have some hidden information? You know, I mean, I don't have hidden information, but my gosh, please call me. I mean, we're supposed to be the people of interest here, and it's like you guys are not even interested in hearing anything we have to say or brainstorming with us or anything. I don't understand, and I'm very, very upset that I don't mind if anybody taps our phone calls and listens to the phone calls. That's cool because we have nothing to hide. But every bit of evidence that I had on my phone that we were begging Elizabeth to come back and things like that, all of my text messages to and from Elizabeth, Logan, and any of the detectives are being erased. And I don't understand that. I don't believe, you know, they can't just erase that. That's my evidence. You guys have all of the copies of that, and there is no reason for you guys to be erasing that on my phone. Somebody is erasing it because I have text messages for so many other people going all the way even back to October that are not erased. Sorry. And so I even sent a text message to Detective Ramirez, and I was just reading it to my husband this morning, the message that I sent to her, and now I'm looking, and it's been erased. So please call me back, 623-68. Here with a reporter that is just really not understanding what you guys are doing and why, or we're just like, what? You know, nobody understands. So please call. Thanks. Bye.
Now, Detective, during this time frame, you were in San Antonio actively assisting in an investigation trying to find Gabriel Johnson, correct?
That is correct.
Were you ignoring her calls?
I was not.
Were you simply tending to the urgent matter at hand at that point?
Absolutely.
All right. And in fact, the information that she left in one of the messages regarding her cousin, that information had come forth because the media had gotten a hold of that information. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. And once that information was brought forward to the police department, it was followed up on at that point?
That's correct.
Okay. And did you return her call then on the 13th, or make arrangements to ensure Detective Ramirez returned her call, or?
I believe I alerted Detective Ramirez. At this point, Detective Ramirez was pretty much the point of contact with Tammi Smith, and so I had it remain that way.
Okay. And her last message that she left, where she's upset that no one was calling her back, and she accuses the police department of erasing her text messages. Was the police department erasing her text messages?
No.
Is there even technology capable of doing that the police department has?
Not that I am aware of, no.
Okay. But you are aware that they were listening to her phone calls at that point?
Yes, I am.
No further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Cross-examination. Mr. Lee?
Yes, Judge.
If you give me just a moment. covered a lot of ground. I really hate the position of this podium. Okay, Detective, now, let me just refresh everybody's memory, and we'll go as fast as I possibly can. You are Detective Ramirez's second right-hand man?
Partway through this investigation, I was made co-case agent, yes.
Okay. Now, you've gone through all the evidence in the case, correct? Or gone through a good chunk of the evidence in this case, correct?
Well, just to clarify, have I reviewed the items of evidence?
Yes.
Not every item of evidence. I reviewed items of evidence that I came into possession of.
A lot, though, correct?
The items that I came into possession of, I would say approximately 15 items, maybe.
Okay. 1,000 pages at least on some of it, right?
In terms of the MySpace information, yes.
Okay. So you have looked at a good amount of electronic information in this case.
That is correct.
And we went through it in big chunks with the county attorney's office, and I kind of had intended on taking you through that, but I won't. But we'll go chunk by chunk and talk about what we've learned, okay?
Okay.
Let's look at text messages and the text messages summaries. Do you have those, the summary that you created with you there?
From the text messages?
Yes.
I believe I do.
If I could persuade you to turn to that, I would appreciate it.
Are you referring to Exhibit 204?
I just make sure I get the exhibit number. Yes, Your Honor, Exhibit 204.
Thank you.
Similar to Exhibit 204. You got it there?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I'm looking at what's listed at the bottom of the exhibit as page 1 of 38. Are we on the same page?
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about what we've learned about Elizabeth. Okay. We've learned that she's got some unkind things, to say the least, about Logan McQueary. We learned that in those text messages? I might point you to the coward bitch comment.
Yes, she does call him names.
Okay. And we do know that we've learned from this about Elizabeth is that she told the father of Gabriel that she killed his son, Gabriel, correct?
That is correct.
And we've learned from those text messages, she described the condition of the body of her son and Logan McQueary's son in those text messages, correct?
That is correct.
And we've learned that she said it was a little blue body. We've learned that from Elizabeth, haven't we?
That's what it said, correct.
Okay. And we've learned that she told the father of Gabriel that she dumped his son into a dumpster somewhere in San Antonio, Texas. I'm adding to San Antonio, Texas, but she dumped him into a dumpster. Is that correct?
It alludes to that. I believe it just basically states that you can find the body if the garbage don't find him first. So.
The trash
dumpster, trash can, right.
Maybe I'm filling it in. We've learned that she tells him that she's going to flee.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, we've got some messages from Tammi as well, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And we learn in some of those messages from Tammi that she wants Elizabeth to come back home to the jurisdiction. She asked her several times, correct?
Let me just find that exact statement. I do see the last sentence on the bottom of page 3. She does ask Elizabeth to come home and stay with us.
And without going through all the text messages, to the best of your memory, she asked her to come home several other times, correct? Let me look at page 5 of 5. And let's look at Tammi Smith where it says, wow. Okay. It says, wow, I will pray for you. You're making a huge mistake. We're willing to help you if you do the right thing, but we can't help you break the law. You're not in trouble yet. What's the right thing that she's implying she do?
I don't have that information here.
Well, why don't we look at it? Here we go. Let's look just up from Tammy, where it says, I just need. Okay? I just need to know if you're going to be at the second hearing, because I don't want to spend all this money for my attorney. You don't plan to go. So let me know ASAP, okay, please? Where's the hearing?
The hearing, I'm assuming, is here in Arizona.
Here in Arizona.
Yes.
She wants her to come back here to Arizona, okay? We also know that she asks, just give me a moment. Now let's look at the same page, 5 of 38. Okay, she says, you need to call me. Need to hear Gabriel cry, even if you have to pinch him. The police called me and listened to a message from you saying you killed Gabriel. Please call ASAP. We also know that she wants to know and make sure that Gabriel is alive. We know that from the text messages here, don't we?
That appears so, yes.
That's Tammy's concern. Now, there's some things that are not in these text messages that we might expect to be in there, correct? Let's talk about some of those. Now, we have heard that Elizabeth Johnson says she took the baby and she gave it away to a couple that she met in Texas. Maybe she gave it to a person that she met at the hotel. Maybe she gave it to a person that she met at the park. She made those statements, correct? And you're aware of them.
Correct.
Okay? Now, we also have the text messages between Tammy and Elizabeth. And the last possible date that she could have given that baby away would be December 27th, correct?
Correct.
But she would have gotten on a bus and gone to Florida after that, correct?
Correct.
Now, we know she didn't have the baby in Florida. Correct?
That's correct.
Now, when you look through these conversations, what we don't see in any of these text messages between Elizabeth Johnson and Tammi Smith is, hey, by the way, I went to the park you told me about, and I dropped Gabriel off with the friends of yours. Do we see that anywhere in these text messages?
I did not see that message at all from my examination of Elizabeth's phone.
And in these text messages, we don't see the details of how to get to that park, do we?
No.
We don't see any of that from Tammy or Elizabeth. Is that correct?
That's correct.
In fact, we see Elizabeth saying she's not going to come back, correct?
Correct.
None of that's in the text messages. Is it? None of those details.
No, they're not.
And those are details we might expect would be in there if two people were conspiring to take a baby and drop it off in a park in Texas. Is that correct?
I would object to speculation, Your Honor.
Overruled. You can answer.
At this point, the information from these logs that we're reviewing is solely based upon my examination of the contents of Elizabeth's phone at the time that I was examining it.
So what you're telling me is that later in the state's case, they are going to put up some evidence that there's text messages that say that they talked about exchanging Gabriel or giving Gabriel away at a park in Texas. Is that what you're saying? We're going to hear evidence about that.
I am not aware of any text messages like that, no.
And we might expect that if two people who were going to do that were communicating with one another, correct?
There's a possibility that people will discuss something like that. I just don't have the answer.
Okay. Why don't we look at Tammi Smith's MySpace? Now, there was a lot of MySpace stuff that you had to look through, correct?
Yes.
Chili recipes, stuff like that, correct? Typical stuff you might talk about on a social network.
Yes.
We're not interested in that, are we?
No.
let's look at what we learn about Tammy from what we have in evidence, okay? Let's look at those. Do you have those? Which was exhibit number 202. You have those MySpace communications that were in there, MySpace postings.
I believe I do.
Would you like to look through the exhibit, or are we on the same page?
If you let me know a date and a time, then I'll
Okay.
probably be able to find the message.
That works. Let's start with 2008, September 17th. Title, I'm Going to China.
Sorry, I was in the wrong tab, so let me
That's
find.
okay.
You know, in regards to any postings that are on Tammi Smith's MySpace page, I may not have that contained in here, so I may need to refer to something there if you have it.
Okay, I tell you what, we'll just do it one by one. Let's. I'm going to start. May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
If I can have you hand that back to me, because my memory's not what it used to be. All right, just review that, and then I'll need it back, and we can talk about it. Let's just talk about some of the things in there. This is a post about going to China.
Correct.
Okay. Now, from Tammi Smith.
From her MySpace posting account, yes.
Well, so let's talk about some things you learned about Tammi. She wanted to adopt a baby, correct?
It appears so, yes.
Okay. And she had some missionaries she was working with, correct?
Correct.
She's probably Christian, correct?
I would assume so.
Okay. And she's excited about adopting a baby, correct?
According to the email, it appears so, yes.
What race are babies in China typically?
I would assume Asian, Chinese.
Okay, that would be my guess too. So, what do we know? What do we know about Gabriel? What race is Gabriel?
Caucasian.
Caucasian. Okay. So we know that she's willing and happy to adopt a baby in a foreign country who's not Caucasian. Correct?
That's an assumption, but according to this, it appears that she's willing to adopt a baby from China.
Okay. Now, let's look at the next one. If you don't mind handing it back to me, so I can look it over. All right, there's a series of these. We'll kind of talk about them in the series. Okay, these are the series of these, and she's talking about surrogacy. Okay? And specifically, she's talking about military wives. Is that correct?
Incorrect.
Okay. And she wants to, again, adopt a baby, correct?
It appears that they want to arrange some type of surrogate arrangement as opposed to an adoption.
Okay. Well, I would assume they have to adopt the baby. Well, at any rate, they will get a baby through a surrogate, correct? That's the assumption is what they're looking for.
Correct. They're looking for a surrogate mother, yes.
And specifically, military mother, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, we learned that there's the most interesting thing in there, I think we learned. You know what that is?
I don't.
That she's willing to pay for the entire 10 months. I thought that was the most interesting thing in there. How about you?
It's what's in there. This is what the email says.
I just thought that was interesting.
Okay.
So she's willing to pay for the entire 10 months. And I have 5 kids, and I think my wife would probably kill me if we went 10 months. But that's in there. She's willing to pay a certain amount a month to the surrogate, correct?
Yes, that's what is written.
All right. May I approach?
Yeah.
And that's a completely different idea from going to China to adopt a baby, correct? They're to obtain a baby. Is that correct?
A different way of doing so? Yes.
Yes. Okay. And neither of these babies presumably are Gabriel, correct?
No.
We're talking about 2 totally separate things. All right. Let's look at some more. Hold on. There's a bunch of these. Let me get to them. All right. Now, may I approach the witness again, Your Honor?
You may.
Okay. Now look at this one. This is another email. There's a, social media exchange on MySpace. Tell me when you've had a chance to kind of look that over. And I want to read from that when you're done with that. Thank you much. All right, in this particular case, she's talking to an unidentified woman on MySpace, right?
Yes, all I know is the first listing of Emma.
Okay. And she starts off with telling her it looks like you might have a child that you might be willing to adopt, correct?
It appears so based upon the verbiage of that email, yes.
Okay. And the woman responds back, sorry, but you were wrong. I would never give my child up for adoption. I have a husband. We're a very happy family.
That's
fair.
correct.
Now, what Tammi says is, I wish you all the luck in the world. Please accept my apologies. Correct?
That is what I recall, yes.
And we learned that Tammi was courteous. Correct?
It appears so.
Tammi apologized.
She did.
Okay. And Tammi let the issue go.
I didn't see any other responses between the two of them in any examination of her MySpace account.
So Tammi let the issue go.
There was no evidence of any other dialogue between the two of them.
All right. Now, let me approach this just one more time, Your Honor. Well, not just one more time, but one more time on this
Don't make
batch.
promises you can't keep.
Well, you know I'm not going to keep them.
You may approach.
Let's look that one up. Can you just give us the date on that one? I think that's important here.
It's December 31st, 2009.
December 31st, 2009. What's the basic gist of this conversation? But we don't have to go through the entire thing.
This is an email that I read earlier.
Okay.
And it's from Tammy's MySpace account to Elizabeth Johnson's MySpace account. And basically it's where she's talking to Elizabeth, giving her the contact information for Detective Ramirez, telling her that right now, today, you're not in trouble, but what you need to do is this is the email where she was instructing her find a police officer, write down the detective's phone number and information, let him take a good look at you and the baby, and then leave, and then tell the police officer to give the Tempe Police Department a call. And this is also the email where she used the example of robbing a bank to pay a parking ticket.
May I approach the witness?
You may.
Now let's talk about some things we've learned on this. Now what we've learned, and since I know it's been a long day for everybody, I'm going to remind them. What we've learned is that the 27th is the last day that Elizabeth Johnson could have had Gabriel, correct?
Correct.
Okay. On the 31st, what we've learned is Tammi doesn't know Elizabeth doesn't have the baby, correct? From this.
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I get the double negative. Oh.
What we've learned is that, according to this email, Tammi does not know that Elizabeth Johnson is without Gabriel.
According to that email, it appears that way.
Okay. What we've learned is that she's asking Elizabeth Johnson to call the police.
That's correct, according to that email.
Okay. And that particular person would be Detective Ramirez sitting here at counsel table.
That's correct.
Okay. And she gives a phone number, in fact, I won't read it, of Detective Ramirez, correct?
Yes.
Gives her a way to do it. And she also talks about, if you don't do this, people are going to think you've killed your child. doesn't she?
That is what is written in that email, yes.
And that's because there's information about the text messages that she sent to Logan available to the public, correct?
I can't recall if the content of those text messages were available to the public at that time.
But she knew about them.
Yes.
Okay. Now, we also know that she says, tell you what, if you're not going to call Detective Ramirez, here's what I want you to do. I want you to stop when you see a police officer and show them that you and Gabriel are okay and give them your name, right?
That is what is written there, yes.
Okay. Now, just out of curiosity, don't you think it would have been nice if Elizabeth Johnson had done that? Stopped a Texas trooper, that here I am, here's my child.
We would have been able to answer some questions, absolutely.
We'd know where Gabriel was, right?
We'd at least be able to ascertain that he was safe at that time.
Now, Elizabeth Johnson. I wanted to point out one more thing about her text messages that struck me. She's texting a woman in Texas. I assume it's Annalisa.
Yes.
Okay. And it appears to me that Annalisa babysat Gabriel at some point.
That's correct.
Okay. And it appears to me that she's probably the last person we know about who held Gabriel besides Elizabeth Johnson. Correct? But we can speculate.
I just don't have enough information about the case to say that concretely.
But she appeared to have seen Gabriel alive and well.
That's correct.
Okay. She appeared to have taken care of Gabriel for an amount of time, correct?
It appears based upon these text messages, yes.
Okay. Now, how long, according to your investigation, was Elizabeth Johnson in San Antonio?
I can't recall specifically,
ballpark.
but I believe either approximately from maybe December 20th or December 22nd, somewhere right around that range, to December 27th when she got on a bus.
Okay. Now, this tells us something about Elizabeth Johnson, doesn't it? That she called a babysitter while she was in Texas. She didn't have a job that you know of, correct?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay. She wasn't there on business, was she?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Didn't have friends there, did she?
Not that I know of.
Didn't have family there that you know of?
Not that I know of.
Okay. She was there by herself with Gabriel, correct?
And that's all the information that I have at this point, yes.
So what we know is in approximately a week, she couldn't take care of that kid by herself. She had to be away from Gabriel, correct?
I wouldn't agree with that statement.
Well, she called a babysitter.
Correct.
Left her child with a babysitter that she presumably met for the first time in Texas.
I don't have any information to the otherwise.
Okay. Went out and did things without Gabriel.
I'm assuming so, yes.
Okay. Learned something else, too. Annalisa asked if Gabriel has a jacket. Do you remember that?
I do.
Okay. And Elizabeth says, no, he doesn't have a jacket. Do you remember that?
I do.
We know that in the wintertime, although we have fairly warm winters here, she left her home with Gabriel and didn't even bother to bring a jacket. At least appears that way from this text message.
All I have in the text message is Elizabeth telling Annalisa, no, he just has a jumper.
Okay. Now, was Annalisa ever identified and spoken to?
Yes, she was.
Okay. She'd be a pretty good witness to have here, wouldn't she?
Well, in terms of the case against Tammi Smith?
It'd be nice to have somebody here who's possibly the last person other than Elizabeth Johnson to see Gabriel, wouldn't it?
That's not my call to make.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the phone messages that Tammi left you. And we heard those just recently. We learned a few things about Tammi on phone calls as well, didn't we?
Things that I can allude to, things that she states on those messages.
And they were played in court because I assume the state wanted the jury to know things about Tammi, right?
They wanted to hear the statements and the messages that were left in those voicemails.
What we know is that she wants to work with you as a police officer. We learned that about Tammi.
That is what she said.
And we know, and the whole world now knows her phone number, and she's willing to leave you, just in case you don't have it, she's willing to leave you her phone number so you can get a hold of her. Right?
Yes.
And we know that she thinks she has information that can help you as a police officer in your investigation, correct?
At one point I recall her saying, do I have to say I have information in order to get a call back, or something along those lines.
And she also said, I just remembered something that I'd like to tell you, correct?
Let me refer to my notes to see if I have it in here. Yes, that is correct.
What was it that she remembered?
I'm sorry?
What was it that she remembered?
I do not know.
Okay. Now, she also believed that she had information about where Elizabeth Johnson used a computer, correct? Scottsdale.
Yes, not during these phone calls, but during a previous conversation I had with her, correct.
Kind of as a result of these phone calls, you had a conversation with her?
No, these phone calls were after.
Okay, after.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's talk about that since I've stumbled into it. She wanted you to know that she had information regarding where Elizabeth Johnson may have used computers, correct?
Correct.
And there's a lot of information that you can gain about somebody off of their computer, correct?
That is possible, yes.
Look at their habits, what they do on the internet, all those sorts of things. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, it would be nice to know what Elizabeth Johnson was doing shortly before she left on the computer, correct?
That would be of investigative value, absolutely.
And that's the reason you guys went to the Scottsdale Library to look at that. Right?
Yes.
You found out that the information had been wiped, correct?
Yes.
Now, it stands to reason that if you thought it was important, Tammi Smith also realized the importance of that information, correct?
That is possible, yes.
Okay. You did not tell her, hey, Tammi, we've already looked at it and the information's been wiped, correct?
No, I did not tell her that.
She was persistent that you needed to look at it, correct?
She was.
Okay. And she was willing to say, hey, you know what, you better look at it or I'm going to tell somebody about it, correct?
That's basically what she alluded to, yes.
Okay. Because presumably she thought it was important, correct?
I don't know that.
It's a good guess. Correct. Here's your detective hat.
There are other possibilities to that answer as well.
Okay. Now, she asked if she could do an extended interview with you, right?
Yes,
Okay. She did not say, I'm not talking to you, correct?
that is correct.
She did not say, I'm leaving the state, correct?
That's correct.
As far as you know, she never ran out of the state.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Never went to Texas,
No,
Alaska,
not that I'm aware of.
Canada.
I don't believe she left the state.
Okay, she didn't leave the state. Okay, she made herself available to you and law enforcement officials.
Whenever I personally asked her to meet, anything like that, she made herself available to me, yes.
Okay, she made her phone available to law enforcement officials.
From what I'm aware, yes.
And her computer available to law enforcement officials.
I know at one point we accessed her computer. I don't know if that was by consent or other means.
She allowed law enforcement officials willingly into her home, correct?
I don't recall. I wasn't a part of that part of the investigation.
And she went down and did recorded interviews with officers.
Yes, she did.
Okay. She went down and met with you.
Yes, she did.
In fact, she wanted to do a specific kind of interview she wanted to do with you, correct?
That's correct.
Can you give me the term of art on that so we know? She called it a body talk, something to that effect. What's the correct term?
A cognitive interview.
She wanted to do a cognitive interview with you, and you wanted to do a cognitive interview with her, correct?
No.
Okay. You talked about the importance of a cognitive interview, correct?
I did.
Correct. You talked about the information that you'd get out of a cognitive interview.
That's correct.
Okay. She got the information about a cognitive interview apparently from you, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Stands to reason because she got information from you about a cognitive interview that she thought you might be interested in a cognitive interview, correct?
There's a possibility she might have thought that, yes.
And she was willing to do it.
It appears so, yes.
Cognitive interview might give you information that is important to you.
That is a possibility depending on the circumstances, yes.
What's important to you in this case is finding Gabriel.
That is of the utmost importance.
Okay. She was willing to do an interview that she thought would help you find Gabriel.
Yes, she was.
Okay. In fact, she came down and met with you, correct?
She did.
Brought her little girl with her, correct?
That's correct.
Was willing to sit down there at hours at a time with a hungry, cranky little girl.
Well, I recall during our interview, she got up and took the girl to lunch for 90 minutes and then came back.
You have kids.
I do.
They need to be fed.
I do.
Mine turn into monsters when they're not. Yours? I'll leave it at that. Now, this was all of her own free will, her own choice, correct?
I don't have anything to say the otherwise.
You didn't threaten her, hey, Tammy, if you don't come down here, we're going to do something bad to her, did you?
No, I did not.
I wouldn't expect that you'd do that, correct? Please don't do that.
Correct.
So she was willing and able to help. Correct?
It appears so from what she verbalized to me, yes.
And you did get useful information from Tammy, correct?
Correct.
You did get information that you used in this case, in this investigation, correct?
Correct.
And you did get information that you used to the best of your ability as a detective to go out and find a little baby boy who we still don't know the whereabouts of, correct?
Correct.
I have no further questions.
Thank you. Redirect.
Very briefly, Your Honor, thank you. Detective, as far as you're aware, San Antonio, they did follow up on searching for the baby's body in the city, correct?
Yes, they did.
Or do you recall exactly what they did?
I am aware that they did a very extensive landfill search, as well as extensive searching around the area where it was last known that Elizabeth might have been with Gabriel.
Okay. And there were extensive searches in the state of Arizona as well as part of this investigation.
There were.
Elizabeth Johnson's home was searched.
That's correct.
The dumpsters around the church where Gabriel was last seen was searched.
That's correct.
You were asked some questions earlier about the texts in this case that you observed on Elizabeth Johnson's phones.
Yes.
And I believe specifically you were asked that you would expect certain details possibly to be within those texts if the two were conspiring together. Do you recall that line of questioning?
I do recall.
Okay. Your analysis of the phone obviously is limited to Elizabeth Johnson's phone, correct?
That is correct.
You are aware, however, that there were numerous phone calls placed between the two.
Yes, I am.
That we don't have the content of those phone calls.
No, we do not.
We don't know what was said between those two on the telephone.
That's correct.
You were also asked some questions about Tammi Smith seeking out military mothers for surrogacy.
Yes.
Okay. And that she was willing to pay for 10 months.
That's correct.
All right. Isn't it a fact that in those messages as well, she indicated it, and on at least one occasion, that she was looking for a surrogate in the state of California in order to avoid Arizona laws?
That is correct.
Objection, Your Honor, that misstates what it said. I'd ask that they actually read into the record what she actually said.
Overrule, it's already been read into the record so the jury can draw from its own memory and notes. It's also an exhibit that's been admitted so the jury can see exactly what was said. The objection's overruled.
Thank you. Now, in regard to the December 31st, 2009 MySpace message from Tammi to Elizabeth, where she talks about robbing a bank to pay a parking ticket, she's actually informing Elizabeth or talking to Elizabeth about the gravity of the situation, correct?
That's what it appears, yes.
In fact, she tells her that a homicide investigation is going to start.
That's correct.
That she's going to get in big trouble if she doesn't come forward.
That's right.
Things that would be alarming to Elizabeth Johnson if she had heard them.
I would assume so, yes.
And I believe you testified to this earlier on direct, but you were asked some questions on cross-examination. I just want to clarify. Annalisa in San Antonio, she was interviewed, and we have the information regarding her contact with the baby at that time, correct?
That is correct.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the jury have any questions for Detective Thompson before we let him go? Doesn't look like it. May this witness step down subject to possible recall later?
Yes, Your Honor, subject to recall.
Okay. All right. So you may step down subject to possible recall later. Okay. Well, it's 4:30. I don't think we should be starting another witness unless we have somebody that's really brief, and we don't. So we're gonna go ahead and take our evening recess. So we're going to come back tomorrow and be ready to go, hopefully at 10:30. Until then, remember the admonition. We'll see you at 10:30, and we can. I'd like juror number 10. Can you stay for a moment? But everyone else will see you at 10:30 tomorrow.
All rise.